I also want to extend my deepest gratitude to the wide array of leaders and frontline professionals in attendance today. You are what make our community, you are what makes our welcoming cities and states truly great. You, you understand that immigrants make our communities stronger. You recognize their contributions. You see that our diversity makes our communities more vibrant and that inclusion is one of our keys to success. And if you haven't heard it enough, I want to thank you for the work you do and for welcoming our immigrant neighbors into our communities. As a proud daughter of Guatemalan immigrants, Maria Elvira and Luis Ramirez, who literally sacrificed everything to give me and my siblings a chance at a life they never had, the work to support immigrant communities, as you can imagine, is very personal. Many of you are here connected to our immigrant communities through your own love for friends, your own loved ones. And right now, many of you are also living through the pain of the Trump administration's cruel campaign of terror. Some of you, like me, every night go to sleep wondering who's next, what will happen next to our immigrant communities. But we have protected each other before, and we have to do it again. While the past few months have been challenging, we have done so much good work to fight for our neighbors. And together with a courageous coalition of advocates, of organizations, I've been able to stand strong by my commitment to do everything in my power to slow Trump down and fight back with every single tool at my disposal. It means to legislate, to litigate, and to agitate. In this Congress alone, I've introduced legislation to combat Trump's unlawful actions. Some of those actions are like the Protecting Sensitive Location Act that protects our immigrant neighbors at schools, at churches, and hospitals from being the target of ICE raids. The American Dream and Promise Act that provides a deserved pathway to citizenship for DACA recipients and TPS holders that I get to be a co-lead on as we file the bill again. The SHIELD Act bill that ensures that every immigrant has access to legal representation during immigration proceedings, especially as you see the violation of due process in this moment. And as we see this rising number of unlawful actions by the Trump administration, I've worked with my colleagues to send letters and support the organizations that are fighting in the courts. And folks, we're winning. The courts have stopped Border Patrol from unlawful searches. They've demanded the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and other deported individuals. They've had to reinstate student visas. And they've even halted the use of the Alien Enemies Act so that they don't have the court's protection to violate due process. In my role as a member of Congress tasked with oversight, I continually call for the resignation of Kristi Noem as the Secretary of the DHS, a long list of constitutional, illegal, and inhumane activities that have been done under her leadership. And on May 14th, I will be able to finally directly demand she answer for her actions in committee. I encourage you to continue to use your power, to use your voice as a community to cause good trouble. Because together, we must keep legislating, litigating, and agitating. And in this precise moment, we have to do two really big, important things. One, we need to protect our people and our communities from the violence and dangerous policies of the Trump administration. And two, we need to keep fighting for progress, for working people, and to build a more just and loving world that fights and sustains our hope. As we fight, we will lean into what we know. The community keeps us safe. We keep each other safe. We must organize, we must educate, and we must inform and empower immigrant communities to know their rights. We must practice solidarity. We must show up for each other across our struggles, and we have to defend each other. We have to develop systems of defense and care for such a time as this. And that means that we have to meet each other's needs when we are persecuted and to continue to find new ways to help our immigrant neighbors so that they can integrate into our communities. And we all have a role to play. And so I ask you, What's the role you're playing? Because we must all use our voices to resist against the administration and not cooperate with harmful, immoral policies that betray our values. Because we won't concede the power of the people. We will not bow down to wannabe kings and dictators. So I close off by saying fascism always demands a public enemy. Today, Trump will tell you the enemy is immigrants. Tomorrow, it will be whoever they deem undesirable. So, friends, stay strong and know that I am in this lucha with you, committed to doing everything I can to protect our communities. So, solidarity, let's stay together, let's organize, and keep fighting back.
We're going to convey back to Congresswoman Ramirez the appreciation that you showed there for her remarks. This is my third time to get a chance to listen to them. And each time I listen, I hear something more helpful that reaches me in a deeper way. And I appreciate her presence here to inspire us today. As she put out the question to us, what's your role? And she said, my role as your congresswoman is to legislate and litigate and agitate. Our role today is to communicate, educate, and collaborate. And we're going to undertake that right away. It's so good to see all of you here in this room. It's so good to feel all of you who are in the Zoom stream, and we know that you're a part of us today. We are so grateful that the Zoom group and the in-person group can be working together to do the things that we need to be doing. I want to talk a little bit about logistics. So you should all have in front of you an agenda, and that's a 2-sheet document, and you should also have in front of you a 1-sheet document, 2-sided, that has bios for all of our presenters today. So during the course of the morning, we're not going to repeat in introductions those bios, but you have them available to you. And these are really powerful people coming to speak with us today with very fine experiences that will help us. Restrooms are outside these doors. As you head to the entrance desk, stay to your left and about 30 paces down, you'll find those. Our marvelous team at DuPage Federation is here to help you through this morning, whether you're online or whether you're here in the room. And I want to call them out for a moment so you know who they are. Online, that is Danica Miller, Executive Assistant, and Evie Frankovich, Senior Director of Finance and Administration. In this room, and I'm going to ask you to stand if you would, so that I can identify you for folks. That includes Rosa Sella Rodriguez, Planning and Engagement Associate. Rosa Sella has been living this event for the last, 72 hours. So I'm very, very appreciative of her role here. I also want to note, supporting you today are Mimi Dow, Research Director in the back there. Beth Carey, Director of Grants and Information. Summer Al-Zawawi, Program Director for Public Benefits Access, and she may be out front. And Eva Rafash, who is our Senior Program Director for Language Access Resource Center, in the back. In a moment, I'm going to invite our keynote speaker, Attorney Rocio Becerril, to come to the podium. And as she speaks, those of you who are in the Zoom meeting are welcome to write your questions into the chat. And we'll filter those into a question and answer period when Attorney Rocio Becerril's remarks are complete. In this room, as you have questions occur to you, I encourage you to write them down on your agenda sheet. And when the question and answer period comes, you'll have an opportunity to ask those live in this room. We'll have a couple of team members with microphones ready to take your questions. Now I welcome to the podium Attorney Rocio Becerril to educate us.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, good morning. For you guys who do not know me, my name is Rocio Becerril, and I'm an immigration attorney. I usually like to tell you guys a little bit about my background because I think it's relevant with everything that we're seeing right now. I was actually born in Guadalajara, Jalisco. I was born in Mexico. I came to the US when I was 10 years old. I couldn't speak English. I couldn't say hello. I couldn't say hamburger. I couldn't say my name is. I actually went through English as a second language, ESL. I actually went to College to DuPage. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I always had the support of my parents in my education. So I actually went to, after College to DuPage, I went to UIC, and I was able to get a bachelor's degree in French, a bachelor's degree in communications. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I continued with my education, and I went to Illinois State University in Springfield, and I did my MBA, Master's in Business Administration. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, so I kept going through my education. And basically, I went to law school. I went to Northern Illinois College of Law, and I UND DeKalb, and I graduated from law school in 2009. I opened my own immigration law firm in December 2012, and I've been on my own since then. I actually have two of my team members here supporting me in the background. And basically something I do like to do is to make a lot of immigration presentations. We're actually located here in Warrenville. We are right now in Naperville, and Warrenville is literally the town next over. I do have a lot of information for you, so just bear with me. I do ask you to keep the questions till the end. We're gonna allocate about 15 minutes for Q&A. And also you guys should have a flyer or brochure in front of you. If you don't, just raise your hand and one of my team members will come around and give it to you. Can I see that, Roger? It should look something like this. I'm gonna talk about this in a little bit, so it should be red. So if you don't have one, just raise your hand and you'll be able to get one. So just briefly a little bit an overview. We're gonna just talk about what really the immigration process looks like, what it's like, what to do if ICE knocks on my door, all the changes we have seen under the new administration, because it's just so hard to keep up. And actually, let me go back to the first page. Actually, you can scan the QR code. Yes. Oh, much better. Okay. Scan the QR code that's up there on the screen because then you guys can follow my PowerPoint. One of the things is we do not share the PowerPoint presentation just because things are constantly changing. I had someone for the police department call me and she was like, hey, can they enter schools? I was like, no, they cannot enter schools. Literally within 24 hours, I had to call her back and say, yes, unfortunately, they're allowed to enter schools. So things are constantly changing. That's the only reason why we do not share our PowerPoint presentation, because some of the stuff could honestly be outdated after like 24 hours. So we're gonna talk about our immigration process, what to do if ICE knocks on my door, how can I prepare in advance? And I'm gonna try to go briefly through the most important immigration changes. There are tons of them, but I'm picking and selecting the ones that are honestly a little bit more important because a lot of them are announcements and a lot of them are not even a law. So we can't really even rely on them, and they're in litigation, they're still fighting back and forth. So basically our immigration process is under the US Department of Homeland Security. So it's a really big branch, and then it breaks off into USCIS, which are the ones who make decisions on immigration cases. Then it breaks down into immigration court, and then it breaks down into Customs Border Protection, which is also the branch of ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. So when you guys keep hearing the word ICE, it stands for Immigration Customs Enforcement. They are basically the branch of immigration who enforce their immigration laws. These are the ones that you hear when they're saying we're gonna do raids in Chicago. They're the ones who have the power to be able to come to homes and detain people. There's also, well, I'll show you about that. This is a really important phone number. If any of your clients have an application pending with immigration, please know that people can call to find out what is the status of their case. You're welcome to take a picture of that, but that is basically immigration's customer service number. It's a 1-800 number, and you can call to find out, hey, I haven't received my receipt. What is the status of my case? I submitted my application 3 years ago. I haven't gotten an interview. This is just a really basic phone number that anybody who submitted an application with immigration is able to call and have access to. Sometimes people say, and we hear this, why don't they just get a green card? They're so lazy. Why don't they just get paperwork? Why are they here illegally? It is not that easy. It is not like I can just go to the DMV and get a driver's license. It's not something that people are just lazy and choose not to. I mentioned that I was born in Guadalajara. My brother right now, because he is over 21, if I were to file a petition for my brother as a US citizen, it will take 25 years for that petition to get approved. If my brother is 30 years old, he wouldn't even have a possibility to come to the US until he's maybe 55, he'll start the process. So that's one thing people do not understand. Also, if I came to this country illegally and I marry my husband who's a US citizen, my husband will say, I'm an American, I want to be able to give my wife a green card. Great, we'll start the process. Did you know the process takes about 5 years? And people are just so shocked and surprised, but why? That is our immigration process. It is not that easy. And so one of the things we really need is we need immigration reform. We need immigration changes. But we need changes that are positive and not all of a sudden they've been throwing at us lately. Things that honestly are just making the immigration process so much more complicated than it already is, because there are very limited options how someone can actually get a green card. And this is why we need everyone's support to be able to fight for the vulnerable communities that are out there and they're receiving, they're on the end, end result, receiving all these awful changes that we're constantly seeing every day. Now, the other way that you're able to get a green card also is, so not just through a family-based petition from what I just described, but also through your employer. So let's say Google or Microsoft or someone wants to bring in from abroad, those are other options that you're able to come to the United States. Now, sometimes people think, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go with this public notary. He can make me a work permit. I want you guys, please, and I'm gonna talk about fraud as well, because just having a work permit does not grant you an immigration status. That is just something that you get incident to. I'm in the process of applying for asylum. In 6 months, I'll get a work permit. I'm applying for a U visa. I was a victim of a crime. I can get a work permit in 3 years. But just getting a work permit, it does not give you immigration legal status. And a lot of people, they're like, well, my neighbor went to this public notary. He got his work permit right away. He's really good. I'm like, that's nothing. And I'm going to talk about public notaries because this is about fraud, how much there is out there. And you guys need to really help people and report this. Yesterday, I was interviewed by Telemundo Chicago, and they were talking about fraud on social media with attorneys. And this is a real story. My client, she was actually a prospective client. And she said, yeah, I have a pending U visa. And I'm going to talk about what a U visa is. And I said, okay, well, show me the paperwork. She sent me the paperwork and everything. This guy was a scammer, got $9,000 out of this client. She lives in a trailer home. So, she can't afford to be paying $9,000. And this guy was creating fake Zoom interviews for immigration for U visa. There are no Zoom interviews with U visa. He showed me, he's like, oh yeah, this guy would just show up, all dressed up, ask us questions, make us do an oath. Like the whole process was such a scam. She also sent me copies of approval notices for the U visa. Oh yeah, in 3 weeks, our U visa was approved. I'm like, a U visa doesn't get approved in 3 weeks. Oh yeah, we got it, let me see it. Approval, like fake receipts that said approval notice, fake receipts with images of like 5 kids that they did a U visa. They would take pictures of like through Zoom, pictures of their kids, and they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna get your work permit, but you gotta send me $1,000 for each work permit before I can release it. So he was issuing fake receipts. The scammer was issuing fake approval notices, fake copies of biometrics. I'm like, that's not what the receipts look like. I mean, it was just such a huge thing that actually Telemundo ended up interviewing my client as well, talking about fraud with scammers. So just please pay attention. And this person now is getting threatened because she stopped sending him money. And this guy is texting her, telling her, if you don't pay me, I'm gonna send ICE to your home on Monday. And she told me this. I told her, listen, give that guy my information. Tell them that we're cooperating with the FBI. We're gonna report him and tell him that now you have an attorney. And give them my information if he keeps bothering you, harassing you. Now, please know this person, I encourage her to go file a police report. Why? Because now she's a victim of extortion. Extortion is when you're being blackmailed, give me money or else I'm gonna call ICE to come knocking on your door. And she's petrified, she's terrified. And she lives, unfortunately, in Alabama. And so I don't know how the police, how would they react? If she's gonna get arrested or transferred over to ICE, which they shouldn't, but they do. I want her to go file a police report because then I, as an immigration attorney, can help her file a U visa. She's a victim of a crime, extortion, blackmail, boom. Now can help her get a U visa for her and her 5 kids. So this was just a day in immigration life that I did all of this yesterday. But it was a really good summary, pretty much everything that I want to talk to you guys about. But just be careful, keep your eyes out for scammers. Public notaries are not attorneys. Public notary, unfortunately, the word public notary in a lot of the Latin American countries means attorney. But an attorney, I have to explain it to people, you have to go to college, you have to go to school, law school for 3 years, you have to take the bar exam. I am registered with the state of Illinois. So that's how you guys can check who's somebody really an attorney. The state of Illinois has the Illinois IARDC, Illinois Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission.org. You can go in there, Google me, put my information, it'll tell you that I'm an attorney. So if any of you guys, people come to you, hey, I don't know if John Smith is an attorney, you can pull them up on the IRDC if they have a law license in the state of Illinois to confirm whether they're really attorneys or not, just like my client was the victim previously with this attorney who's not an attorney at all. There are other immigration benefits and how you're able to get a green card eventually. So one of them is VAWA, really basic. If you guys are working with people and they're victims of abuse, whether it's emotional, physical, and their partners are US citizens or legal permanent residents, you do not need a police report that are eligible for a VAWA. The same thing happens if I'm a parent, and my child is a 21-year-old US citizen, and I'm a victim. And it can also be through emotional abuse, they're drug abusers, they beat me up, they ask me for money. I mean, they're my child. You're able to do VAWA, and it doesn't come back to the child. A lot of parents don't want to do this. I don't want to act against my son, my daughter. This is just a process that we can do where we're to help them and doesn't go on the record against the child. For the spouses, the partner has to be either a legal permanent resident or US citizen. Now, the U visa is something that actually we focus a lot in my office. So a U visa, people who are here in the United States before, they were a victim of sexual abuse, domestic violence. Oh, I don't want to say anything. I'm not going to the police. Why? Because then they're going to send me to immigration and then I'm going to get deported. Even though my husband just beat me up, I'm going to go to the police department. I'm going to be the one who's going to get deported. So we were sending the wrong message. So then they changed the laws in 2008 and said, okay, we want you, even if you're undocumented, please come forward. Please tell us if you're a victim of sexual abuse, domestic violence, someone held a gun, you were held at gunpoint, come to us, file a police report. So if you're a victim of a crime, it has to have occurred in the United States. You must have a police report. I hear a lot of times, abogada was a victim in Mexico for 20 years for domestic violence. It's not going to count. You don't have a police report here in the US. Or I was a victim of domestic violence for 20 years here in the US, but I don't have anything. You need to have a police report in order for the U visa to work. And the wonderful thing about the U visa, a lot of people have a lot of immigration violations. So they have been told you can never get a green card. The U visa is very forgiving. It will waive a lot of bad things that people may have, deportations, entries and exits, a false claim to citizenship. It's a wonderful tool for them to be able to use to be able to get some type of a green card eventually in the future. Now, the new immigration under the new administration, what can we expect? We've seen a lot of the things. And briefly, I mentioned number 2, a lot of fraud and scammers out there that are just posing as attorneys when they're not. Also, a lot of changes being thrown at us constantly. So I'm going to go run through a couple of slides, and these are really the most recent updated things that are going with immigration. COVID shots are no longer a requirement in order for you to get a green card. So when you do a medical exam, once you're ready to apply for a green card, they have taken that away, so it's no longer a requirement. The second thing is, now they have come up with what is called alien registration. And I'm sure you guys have gotten questions or inquiries about this. And I'm going to give you just really a quick summary of what it is. So basically, the way I explain it to my clients is you have to register with the government, let them know that you're here in the US. You register with them, they're going to deport you. You don't register with them, they're still going to deport you eventually. So honestly, it's a really hard question to answer. But basically, they want people who have been in the United States for more than 30 days, especially if they're older than 14 years old, their parents have an obligation to register them. There is an account online, and there's a form that you can fill out. Now, I have a lot of problems with this in a lot of different angles because we have protection under the Fifth Amendment against, when you plead the Fifth Amendment, when you don't want to testify against yourself. So it's not like you tell a criminal, oh, go register all your crimes and tell us all the crimes or robberies or all the murders you've done. Otherwise, we're going to put you in jail. So it's either we put you in jail now or we put you in jail later. Like, does that make sense? It's like, come tell us where you are. So right now, this stuff, it's still like in litigation. And that's the thing. A lot of this stuff, I don't like to act on the minute they announce it, because a week later, 2 weeks later, it's like, okay, it's on pause, it's on hold, we're moving forward, we're not. So the way I tell my client, look, this is the law. It was implemented on February 25th, 2025. You are required to register, but those are the options. You register, they're going to deport you. You don't register, they're going to deport you eventually. And like I said, I have a problem with the whole self-incrimination protection that we have under the Constitution, under the Fifth Amendment, you know, for you to go out there and tell the government that you're here in this country illegally. Another change too that I just did recently was for Social Security numbers. They used to be issued once I got, for instance, my work permit, I would get in the mail also my Social Security number, which was wonderful. USCIS, the government that adjudicates petitions for immigration, they were working with the Social Security office. So Social Security numbers were issued at the same time. That was wonderful for my clients. Don't ask me why they made this change. We no longer have that option. So people may be asking you, hey, I got my work permit, but I don't have my Social Security number. Or I got my green card, but I didn't get my Social Security number. People now have to go in person to apply for the Social Security number. So that's another change, recent change that has happened. So you just have to guide the people that you're working with correctly. Another thing too that they're doing is they're deactivating a lot of Social Security numbers that they have in their database if they're not attached to a immigration status. So this is a problem because then people, if they deactivate the Social Security numbers, when the bank is trying to verify your Social Security number, you're gonna have a problem. They're gonna be deactivated. So basically what they're saying is any Social Security number the Social Security Administration is issuing must be attached to an immigration status. Or if you have a valid work permit. So before you could come here on a tourist visa and say, hey, I'm just here traveling, can I have a Social Security number? They would issue you a Social Security number. And there are a lot of people who have a good Social Security number that way, and you're able to keep it because it's still good. And it was issued by the Social Security Office Administration, but now they're saying they're going to just basically eliminate them. And we obviously have a problem with this because they tend to, unfortunately, deactivate Social Security numbers that belong to legal permanent residents, to U.S. citizens. And so they're just really creating a chaos and a mess that, you know, these are just the changes that are just happening. We used to have also what's called the Ombudsman's Office. So basically, if I have a petition application with immigration, and I have one for one of my clients, we did her petition. She did her interview, I kid you not, in Chicago 2 years ago. Immigration is supposed to make a decision on a green card application after an interview within 90 days. We're supposed to get it, you know, yes, you're approved, or no, we're denying your petition. It's been 2 years. This petition has just been pending with no decision from immigration, despite the fact that we're emailing them, we're calling them, we're following up, nothing. So as an attorney, I have the option to use what's called the USCIS Ombudsman's Office. I can go to them and say, hey, USCIS is not doing their job. I have this application pending. They intervene and they'll knock on their door. Hey, why haven't you guys made a decision? Oh, yeah, it was approved last week. Well, no kidding, because you knew that they were knocking on your door. So now you have approved it, but they have taken away that option now. So we're no longer able to have that branch. Why? Again, they're making our immigration life process, everything super, super complicated. And there's really no logical reason or explanation why. Also, immigration is going to be getting information from the IRS. I'm sure you guys heard about this, and I'm sure clients and people are panicking. Well, of course. So basically, they're saying for enforcement reasons. So it's not like they're gathering the Social Security numbers of everyone who's undocumented, but basically those people who have a final order of deportation. So the people right now who are more vulnerable, and they're the ones where they're going after. So if you have a final order of deportation, what does that mean? It could have been that I came knocking on the door, asylum. I knocked on the door, said, I want asylum. They're like, okay, here's your court hearing in August. And I didn't go. It's called an in absentia order. The judge will say, where's Maria? Maria's not in the courtroom. Maria, she's not here. Now you have an in absentia order. Maria may not even know she has an in absentia order, but it's in the system. That's a final order of deportation. Or I was in immigration court and they told me, Rocio, you have to leave the country. We give you 30 days. I never left the country. I'm still walking around. That's a final order of deportation that I have on my record. And now immigration, if they're trying to look for me or confirm if I left, they're going to be checking my income tax returns. So one of the questions I do get from people is, well, should I stop filing my taxes? Now, remember, they already have your information. So honestly, it's irrelevant what you do from now on, whether you file taxes or not. I do tell people filing your taxes, it is the law. So I can't tell you as an attorney to break the law. But they already have your information. So if you filed before, it's not like if you don't file, they don't have your information. They already have it. But they're going to be IRS sharing that data with immigration. One of the other benefits also of the U visa, you're a victim of a crime, you cooperate with authorities. Unfortunately, we only have 10,000 U visas. And so this is another reason why we need immigration reform, because our laws are so antiquated. They don't fit where we stand now with technology and people and the numbers, 10,000 U visas is nothing. There are over 329,000 U visas petitions pending with immigration. So at the rate of 10,000, are you kidding me? It's going to take years for someone to get a U visa. So what they did last year, they came out with what's called a bona fide determination. And basically a bona fide determination, they are going to look at your package briefly within 3 years, and they're going to say, oh, we're going to give you protection from deportation. You get a bona fide determination, and you get a work permit. This is wonderful, right? For people who are waiting forever, they get this in 3 years. Well, now the new administration said, well, if you have a final order of deportation, this is not going to work for you. So a lot of people who may have a pre-approval for a U visa who have a bona fide determination, this is no longer helping them because they have, unfortunately, a final order of deportation. Just like my example where Maria had no clue she was supposed to go to court. She has an in absentia order, which is a final order with immigration. Now she's at risk, even though she has a pre-approval with immigration for a U visa. Now, I want to be clear, a U visa approval, if the concrete U visa, right now they're working on applications for 2017, and we're in 2025. That tells you how delayed they are. So someone submitted, I was a victim of domestic violence. I submitted my application in February of 2017. They're working on those cases right now. If they approve that U visa, that person does have protection from deportation, even if they have a final order of deportation. Are you guys catching up with all of this? And public notaries want to do this for a living. And I'm like, oh my God, whenever we get new things as attorneys, I literally have to get together with 3 of my girlfriends. We're all attorneys, and we're like, what does this memo mean? How do we figure it out? What do we, how do we interpret this? What does it mean? And I don't like how I do a lot of social media as well. I'm very active on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And I see that people follow influencers, and I yell at them. I'm like, why are you listening to influencers? It takes me forever to figure out what's really going on with immigration. But yeah, you're going to hop with an influencer and just follow him, and for him to read and interpret whatever change which is done with immigration. Another thing they also did, because supposedly everyone who's applying for asylum, they're all committing fraud, or they're all fake. They are suspending the approval of green cards for everyone who has applied as an asylum seeker or refugee status for the application until, and there is litigation on this, so we're going to see what's going to happen. We've heard the whole Alien Enemies Act. Please know that under the Constitution, everyone has protection, whether you are legal status or no legal status. So there's protection under the Constitution under the 4th Amendment against searches and seizures on my property, my home, even if I'm undocumented. I have protection under the 5th Amendment. I have protection under due process, even if I'm here undocumented. So you guys might have heard about people that were just pretty much gathered up, and I just decided that you four, you guys look like gangbangers. I don't care what anybody says. I'm gonna arrest you, and then I'm gonna put you guys in an airplane. And now these 4 ladies are now in El Salvador, because that's what they did. They put them all on a plane. And this is what the big deal is, that there was no due process. Like, who am I to just say you look like a gangbanger? You have a Star of a tattoo, your hair the way it's cut, you're a gang member. No proof, nothing, no due process. We have due process protection under the Constitution. It is so basic. In sort of the violations that we're seeing, this is what Congresswoman Delia Ramirez was talking about. They're violating our due process. And who's to say they're not going after U.S. citizens? You might be over here saying, well, I'm safe. I'm light-skinned, I'm blonde, I'm blue eyes. That's not going to happen to me. But if it's happening to them, and some of them may be U.S. citizens, just because you're dark hair, you're dark complected, but I just think you have a star in your hand, I think you're a gangbanger. I'm going to just collect you and send you to El Salvador. And that's exactly what happened. Those people are all over there. And the Supreme Court came back and said, you better bring them back. And you know what they said? Oh no, we have no jurisdiction. They're already out there. And that's not what they're relying on. And so it's like they took these people out of the country, dropped them like nothing, and they're in detention indefinitely. Like, zero due process. It's not like you have a 3-year sentence and I'm going to get out. No, they're just there indefinitely. So these are just a little bit of a preview, just everything that's happening, that's going on. They also took away legal representations for migrant children, which was a big issue. A lot of non-for-profits were really having a really hard issue. Little kids, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, representing themselves in front of an immigration judge. Again, immigration laws are very complex. I mean, I can't even figure them out. Imagine a 9-year-old trying to have his hearing in front of an immigration judge. There's litigation. It went back that a judge said that they had to restore the funds again, but we'll see. It's just still, things that are just going back and forth. They have taken away a lot of benefits. We already know that they took away TPS for Venezuelan It's just an issue that it was supposed to end in April, and it's been going back and forth. More recently, they just did it also for Afghanistan as well, TPS. So just a lot of things are just taken away. And then our third slide is going to be about what can I do if ICE knocks on my door? So these are more like action things, so how you guys can help your families. So what can you do? They should know the rights. And it's so true. Education is so basic. If you understand, like, hey, I have protection under the Constitution. I'm here illegally. I'm undocumented. But hey, ICE agent, you can't enter my home if I don't open the door. You can't enter my home and you don't have a search warrant. So these are the things of education. We can educate them. Don't open the door. You're not obligated. You're not breaking the law if you do not open the door. As simple as that. If I don't want to let her, she's an ICE agent, Rocio, open the door, I'm going to say, hey, do you have a search warrant? Oh, yes, I do. I'm not going to open the door. If I open the door, she can walk in and that's it. I've given her permission. I'm going to ask her to slide the search warrant. I'm going to say, give it to me underneath the door, give it to me through a window, give it to me through a little peephole. I'm going to look at the search warrant. Now in front of you guys, those red sheets, it's a sample of what a search warrant looks like. A search warrant, because you know what they do? People are scared, they're nervous, they're scared. I'm going to just give you just like this sheet of paper and you're going to look at it. You're going to be like, oh yeah, that's a search warrant. Why? Because you don't know what a search warrant is. Most of us don't even know what a search warrant looks like. So that search warrant that's in front of you, that red sheet, there's a big picture up there, but you guys have it in Spanish and English on both sides. This is what a search warrant looks like, okay? So it should have United States District Court. It should have search and seizure warrant, like you guys see in the middle. Make sure that it's dated recently, because I could have a crumbled up old search and seizure from a cocaine arrest, and I'm gonna give it to her because she doesn't read English, she doesn't speak English, and I'm gonna just give it to her. So make sure that it's dated correctly. Make sure it's signed by a judge on the lower bottom. Make sure it's under your name, because she's knocking on my door saying, I'm here to get you, Rocio. And I'm gonna say, do you have a search warrant? She gives it to me. I see that it's Daniel Smith. I'm gonna say, no, you have a search warrant, but you actually have the wrong person. Give it back to them. Or she could have a search warrant and you could say, you know, apartment D as in David. Well, guess what? You do have a search warrant for apartment D. I'm in apartment B. I'm gonna give it back and say, you go back and get another search warrant. So these are protections that people have, and people can exercise this no matter what their immigration status is. Now, usually what happens after you're detained, normally there is a process. Usually you are detained, you're handed over to a processing center with immigration. And basically you are entered into a database. So there is a website called ICE Locator, and you can find out where the person is. So people have come and said, I came home, I don't know where my husband is. My neighbor said ICE was here, I don't know where to find them. We can go into ICE Locator. There's a website and there's a phone number. And basically I can find out if that person was transferred to a different detention center. And so there are detention centers all over the US, and there's really no logic. Someone can be arrested here in Illinois and appear in Texas or New Jersey or in a different location. And then at that point, that person will be given what's called a bond. A bond meaning for them to be released so that they can continue with their immigration process in front of an immigration judge. Now, one of the huge distinctions for a bond with immigration, did you know that you have to pay the full amount for the bond? So basically, if I'm arrested, I did something, trespassing, criminal process, I have to pay 10% of my bond, right? So you only pay, your bond is $1,000, I have to pay $100 to be released and I have court. In immigration, you have to pay the full amount of the bond. And did you know that a bond here in Chicago can easily be $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000? What family of yours has in their checking account just sitting $15,000 to pay for their husband or wife who just got detained? One of the highest, and this is actually an anecdote, where in immigration groups on Facebook, one of the highest bond, what we just heard, was $100,000. But this is the highest. So the highest that we have seen is attorneys nationwide, $100,000. Who has $100,000 just sitting on a checking account? You have to pay the full amount, not a percentage, the full amount. So how can I prepare in advance? A lot of people feel they have a lot of, they don't trust attorneys. I don't blame them. Just like from the interview I did with Telemundo yesterday, you know, she thought the guy was an attorney, complete fraud. Some people rely also on information from 10 years ago. Laws are constantly changing. I mean, I remember the previous administration, it was like, yes to public charge, no to public charge. Yes, it's back on. No, it's not. It was such a nightmare. DACA as well. Yes, we have DACA. No, we don't have DACA. Yes, we have DACA. I don't even know where we stand with DACA right now, to be honest with you. I'm so confused. And so I tell people, just schedule a consultation with an attorney. Things are constantly changing. Your child is probably not 21. Someone maybe got married. Someone maybe, just so many changes that happen in family statuses that we're able to check. There is the website on the bottom that I was telling you how you can check if someone is an immigration attorney, especially in the state of Illinois. So that's where people can check to confirm someone is actually an attorney. Obviously I tell them go to an attorney. If not, you can work for not-for-profit organizations. They're helping to be able to do, short-term guardianships. What I tell people, just gather documents and just kind of prepare for the worst, hoping that it will never happen to you. So I tell people, just grab a folder, photocopy and gather all these basic documents. Why? Because if someone's arrested and then we have to fight for a bond and the judge says $20,000 bond, we can say, wait, hold on, I have evidence. They have 4 kids who are U.S. citizen. One of them has an, IEP schedule. This person, this person has paid their taxes consistently. They have no arrest. Here's the records. Who's going to give me that evidence as an attorney if they're arrested? While they're detained in jail, they can't give me that documentation. So if you prepare all this information and we're trying to show the judge, like you're a person of good moral character, please reduce the bond. I can't pay $20,000. I need all this information as an attorney to be able to help you effectively. But you can prepare this in advance. Make my life easier so I can help you get out of jail, get out of immigration proceedings as soon as possible. Now, there are a couple of things that you can do. Have create a written plan where you know what's going to happen. What if I have my 3-year-old and 5-year-old in daycare and they pick up mom and dad? And this has happened to us where people have come to us are like, they picked up both mom and dad, immigration, and there's a 3-year-old and 5-year-old in daycare. What's going to happen? Who's going to pick them up from daycare, from school? You guys can prepare in advance. And some of you had conversations. You guys are helping some of your clients already to do short-term guardianships. Short-term guardianship, it's a document that can be drafted and you're able to say, I want to leave my kids. Something ever happens, I can put her name down and I give her authorization and permission for her to pick up my kids if I'm ever not available. And this is a legal document that's not a statute here in the state of Illinois. And there's actually a form that you are able to complete and fill out. And I tell people, you're not giving your kids up for adoption. So it's not like she owns them now, but if she needs to continue with daycare, if let's say I'm detained for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, let's say my bond is $10,000. There are people who are detained because they can't afford to pay the bond. I don't have $10,000. They're just detained with immigration. They lose their job. What if I have a mortgage to pay, but I have a little bit of money saved on the checking account? That's where you want to go to the next step and get what's called a power of attorney. This is another document you can get that I can already have it saved, pre-drafted, leave it in this folder, and I can say, I want her to have power of attorney. Something happens to me, she can go to my bank, Chase, she can take out those $3,000 and she can help me pay at least the mortgage for the next month or 2 months. Or she can pay for food for my kids. So I can to a doctor with a short-term guardianship is the other sheet for my children. She can help me a little bit, can give it to my sister. I can give it, some people will do it to their oldest siblings as well, like over 18, the minimum age. And preferably, I tell people do someone who's a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident, someone who has legal status. But these are little steps or things that you can do beforehand so you're not stuck in the middle of nowhere with nothing, no plan in advance. I already talked to you guys about fraud. I think you guys are gonna have a lot of questions. I want to leave more time. This is another thing, like I always tell people here in Illinois, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you're able to get a regular driver's license in the state of Illinois, even if you're undocumented. So even like when I do seminars here for people in churches and places, I yell at them, I'm like, none of you should be driving without a driver's license. Like, there's just no reason. Why are you getting pulled over? Why are you asking for a fine? If you're undocumented, you're able to get a driver's license in the state of Illinois. You have to prove you've lived here for the past 12 months, but don't drive without a driver's license. There's just no reason for you not to, because we have this benefit and advantage in the state of Illinois. Also, we have wonderful leaders here in Chicago and Illinois. I'm so proud of all of our congressmen and congresswomen that are just standing up to all these changes that are coming through. We have the Illinois Trust Act. We have where the police, before, if I'm driving, I forgot to put my turning signal, the police will pull me over and they would ask me, what's your immigration status? None. They could hand me over to ICE. ICE will then process me. I'm detained and I'm waiting to have a bond hearing to be released. Now they're not allowed, local police, to work with ICE. So it's wonderful. So if I just forgot to put my turning signal, what is your name? You forgot your turning signal. Here's your ticket, blah, 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 driver license, insurance. Okay, peace, you go. And you're done. So I love that. I love that people are not constantly living in fear. And so unfortunately, we only have this here in the state of Illinois. Some other states have this as well, but not all of them. We know they're not all of them are as friendly as Chicago. You guys have my information there. Like I said, we are right around the corner in Warrenville. I also, like I said, I'm very active on TikTok. So as far as like breaking news or changes with immigration, I do them all the time on TikTok. So if you want to see an update, maybe I talked about something here and then you hear something different, you're like, that's not what she said. It's probably because it has changed. So just I encourage you, you can follow me on TikTok and I'm constantly making updates and changing, doing a lot of updates constantly of things that are happening, everything related with immigration. And at this point, I do want to open it for questions. You guys have been really good because I give you guys tons of information. Do you guys have any questions?
First of all, Attorney Rocio Becerril, thank you. Incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We will open for questions. We're going to do it in two ways. So all the sound in this room is going through microphones to the Zoom meeting. So we can't ask people to stand up. But we have two microphones here that will be looking for people in the room who raised their hands. And we're also logging questions that are coming into the chat through the Zoom. And Rosa Isela will raise those up to us in just a moment. So I would vest with you the opportunity to respond anyway. And invite anybody to raise your hand if you have a question and invite Attorney Becerril to respond.
Yeah, with the implementation of the Real ID, is there any guidance or any concerns that undocumented individuals won't be able to get a driver's license, or would they still be able to apply for the regular driver's license?
So the Real ID is a document that's not required by the federal government effective May 7th in order to be able to enter federal buildings and to fly. So basically that's really basic and that's why you need it. You can also fly using your own passport. So that's another backup. The thing is that I know that a lot of different states are using different guidelines as to what documents they're accepting for them to be able to issue you a Real ID. So I know that here, for instance, in Illinois, I've heard from my DACA clients that they're able to get a Real ID. So they're able to get it, they should get it. There's no problem implication. I do want to warn you guys, and I've had these arguments with people on TikTok, having a driver license or the Real ID, it does not mean, it doesn't prove your immigration status. Some people might try to use it, but it doesn't. So.
Okay, so yesterday, I saw on social media, and I know I take things on social media with a grain of salt, but that there was a news report claiming that Bank of America was requiring proof of citizenship in order to continue banking with them, and that there was an example of a gentleman who went on and said that he had gotten a letter, he thought it was fraud, so he ignored it, and then they froze his assets until he could prove that he was who he was and that he was a citizen. Mm-hmm. So is that something that is true and happening, or is that something we need to watch out for? Because I imagine that if anyone hears that, they're going to ask us, should they be pulling their money out? Like, what should they be doing? Things like that.
This is one of the concerns. I had one senator who confided in me and said, I have people who are starting to stash their money in their mattresses. Like literally, like they're so scared. And they're starting to do that precisely for that reason, because we don't know what's going to happen with banks. So I'm not surprised that is true. I haven't heard of it, but I'm not surprised if that's true. I mean, I just feel the way they are creating immigrants to be the bad people, the bad apple. I mean, have you heard those commercials? They drive me crazy. The newest thing, and I was interviewed by Telemundo last week about how now they're offering $1,000 for you to self-deport. Please, are you kidding me? I'm like, I don't trust this administration. Again, you get $1,000 after you're out of the country. You send them your facial recognition, I'm out of the country, and then you claim your $1,000. I'm like, I don't trust this administration to follow through. If they're not, the Supreme Court told them, go get those people from El Salvador. They said, no, it's beyond our jurisdiction. You think they're going to pay you $1,000 once you're deported? Plus, honestly, there's so many complications. They're like, if you self-deport, you may be able to return. And I'm like, that's the key word, may be able to return. That's completely erroneous and incorrect under immigration laws. There's so many complications. If you're here illegally and you leave the country, you have automatically a 10-year bar. And they don't explain that to you. There's no proposed plan. It's not like if you self-deport, you can come back in 3 years through this process. There's no process. So please tell people to talk to an attorney before if they want to take this wonderful offer.
Mi nombre es Ana Guillén, de la organización SSIP. Mi pregunta es, últimamente están haciendo la licencia del Estado, pero anteriormente las personas tienen un seguro social que lo adquirían antes lo daban. Ahora que lo están haciendo la licencia, les están preguntando en cuanto aplican por la licencia del estado, le preguntan que si trae su tarjeta verde. Entonces están teniendo problemas. ¿Qué pueden hacer en este aspecto? Porque realmente no son indocumentados.
¿Son documentados o indocumentados?
Indocumentados.
Okay, so that would be an issue for the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. So they do have guidelines who they can issue a driver's license. So for the most part, if you have a work permit, you're able to get a social security number, you're able to get a driver's license. Now, if you're talking about the social security numbers they used to give you back in the days, that's the thing that I'm talking about that they're deactivating. So they have to make sure that that social security number is linked to this new work permit. So when they apply for a driver license, I can bring my work permit, my EAD, employment authorization document, with my social security number, and I can get a driver's license in the state of Illinois.
Okay, gracias.
I have kind of a question comment, and it's related to the judge that it was arrested a few weeks ago, obstructing justice for a lot. And I guess my concern is, and I've heard this before, is if ICE is going to be hanging around courtrooms, then people aren't going to come forward to be a witness, to do whatever that's needed to be in the courts. So is there any protection regarding the court system and ICE?
Unfortunately, not under this new administration. Before there were so many protections that had just been like dismantled and just peeled away. Before, ICE agents could not be around criminal courts precisely for that reason. Now they're allowed to be in family court. I mean, if I'm doing child support, I mean, I'm not going to show up, so there are all these things, and you're right, it's detrimental. Because if it's a court hearing, I have a speeding ticket, but I'm scared ICE is going to be there, I'm not going to show up. And that becomes into an arrest warrant because I didn't show up to court. So yes, the effects of a lot of these changes are just so kind of, they just don't make any sense.
Like,
And-
yeah, even for a woman to come, or a partner to come report, domestic violence, she has to go to court on that.
Exactly. Who's gonna want to put a restraining order, go to court, and oops, ICE might be there. Never mind, I don't want to go. Absolutely.
Good morning. I'm Julieta from Despertar Latino and also Alderwoman of the First Ward in West Chicago. And my question is, it is said now that IRS is participating, providing information to ICE. Does our United States Constitution protect these taxpayers, the workers, in the event that something happens because of this to them?
They're actually currently in litigation. Yes, they are violating privacy laws. So when you're submitting your paperwork to the IRS, there are privacy laws that protect your information, where not just anyone can have access to your information. They're arguing because they're hiding behind the Alien Act that they can do this because these people are terrorists. So I get to do whatever I want to and forget the Constitution and everything else. But there's litigation on that. But there are definitely privacy law violations in that.
Hi, I was in a career and technical education high school for over 30 years. And I had students go through cosmetology, certified nurse assistant, paramedic, EMT. If they did not have a social security number, they couldn't sit for the state tests. Therefore, they could not go to work and they could not pay taxes. So has anything changed in the state of Illinois?
No, you need to be able to have some pathway to immigration for you to be able to adjust your status so you are eligible for a green card. Social security number, work permit. And so unless these young individuals are eligible for DACA, if they marry a US citizen, they go through the 5-year process I explained previously. Unless there's a way for you to be able to get a green card, you're a victim of a crime, a U visa. If you're a victim of abuse from your partner or your children, VAWA, I mean, honestly, their options are so limited. And you're right. I mean, the way I see it is like, these are wonderful young people. They're not gangbangers. They're going to school. They're trying to improve their
They're entitled to the education.
And they're like, you cut off their arms because you don't give them a social
It's
security
so
number, so you don't
illogical
work.
because then they can't be tax-paying citizens and go to work.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I did enable 3 students right at the beginning of the DREAM Act to be able to get their social security cards, but that is gone, correct? DACA?
Which one?
DACA?
DACA, I believe you're still able to renew it. You're still, brand new applications, supposedly they give us a green light, but we haven't seen any approvals, so. But you can still renew it. If they already had it, make sure they're, keep at
You
it if
can't
they renew
reapply.
it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let's go to an online question for a moment. Rosacella?
Can you please repeat what you said about the Social Security number?
Hello? The question is, can you please talk again about the deactivation of social security numbers? So basically what they. Can you hear? If you had a social security number that is not tied to immigration status, so you need to be able to have it tied to either an immigration status, which is a legal permanent resident, or you're a U.S. citizen, or a work permit. If you were issued a social security number before, and we used to give them out like candy back in the 90s, people would come here even illegally and say, oh, I want a social security number here, check, check. And those social security numbers are valid. Now those are gonna be deactivated, and they're gonna remove them and put them in the dead pile.
Shall we come back to the room? And Rocio, there's another mic here if you wanted to try a switch.
Okay, thank you. I think this is working.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ok, buenos días, mi nombre es Rosa Báez, vengo del Centro de Trabajadores Casa Dupech. Mi pregunta es, con la acción diferida para trabajadores, ¿qué tanto estamos protegidos con estas nuevas administraciones?
So, there are protections for workers who are able to file a complaint against their employer. There's a program called DALE, which is like deferred action. And so you're able to get a work permit, you're able to get a social security number, and you have protection from deportation. So your question is, how protected are we? Well, in the sense that the administration just changed it. So technically, if you have deferred action, that means you have protection from deportation. They just changed it that if you have a final order of deportation, what I was explaining, if you had an asylum case, you didn't go to court, you were supposed to leave the country, you didn't leave the country, and now you have a final order of deportation, you have no protection. So you should really check to make sure that I think I went to court, I think I did not. There is a portal on immigration's website, EOIR, where you can enter your alien number and you can see if your name is out there and see what the final outcome of your case was if you think you had an asylum case.
Ok, una de la otra pregunta es, ¿todavía sigue existiendo este programa?
Yes, this process is still in, it still exists. Yes.
Gracias.
Yes, my name is Maria Correa from Casa Michoacán DuPage. I have a question about Form G28. We have many clients who come to our office for advice, and one of the questions is like, should I have a G28 sign? And I believe that's for an attorney to sign. They wait in case they're arrested or detained. I mean, I already have, an attorney who can come to the place where I'm detained. The only thing is that, I went to one of the clients said I went to see an attorney, and they said I could sign the G28, but he asked me for a retention fee, I believe, and he said I'm not planning. I know I have no hope to become legal because I have no wife or nothing who can apply on my behalf. But do you suggest to have someone sign the G28 by an attorney? I mean, that will definitely, I think, will help in case they are arrested or detained, or I don't know, what can you say about the G28?
Okay, so a G28 is basically a form that we submitted as an immigration attorney that I am representing my client, so I signed that. Also, representatives who work for non-for-profit and are BIA accredited are able to sign this G28, and it used to be a blue sheet, so we still call it a blue sheet, and that alerts the officer when they look at the package, oh, they're represented by an attorney or a non-for-profit organization. So which is referring to a G28. So what some people do in anticipation of maybe I could be detained by immigration, you can sign a G28 in advance. So that way, when I'm trying to communicate with immigration or ICE, because you have my client detained, I can have this already pre-signed and I can send it to them. So her question was, well, this client is saying, well, I don't have any options. I don't have children. I don't have spouses. There's no way for me to green card. But honestly, even if that person needs to request voluntary departure to be, represented during the process, you would still need that G28. So my suggestion would be to still encourage them to have it. Now, let me give you a warning about this G28s if you guys hear them. There was an attorney in Texas who was charging $1,000 for these G28s because people felt protected. Well, at least if something happens to me. I don't think that's the right thing, to be honest with you. I mean, they're like, well, I'm on call in case something happens, but I just didn't think it was right, like $1,000. I'm just throwing it out there. If you hear something like that much money, I just didn't think it's worth it to pay that much for a G28.
My name is Penny Munoz, and I have a question regarding two questions. One, the ITIN numbers, are they no longer in existence? And is that the same thing that you're referring to in terms of the social security numbers being deactivated? Or is that completely something different?
Okay, an individual tax ID number is also known as an ITIN number. An ITIN number is issued to you only by the IRS, and the only sole purpose is so you can file your income taxes. So people who do not have a social security number, you can go to a CPA, and when they file your taxes, usually do when you file your taxes, they fill out an additional form applying for an ITIN number for you and each individual dependent on your return. But that is the sole purpose of an ITN. You're not supposed to use that for anything else. But people use it for different things, which you shouldn't. So that's one thing. What I was talking about are social security numbers. Social security numbers are issued by the Social Security Administration, SSA. The ITIN numbers are issued by the IRS, completely different entities. So what I'm talking about is that they're saying the social security numbers that are not tied to a U.S. citizen, a legal permanent resident, or someone with a work permit, any of these floating around social security numbers, they're going to be deactivated.
And then next, the BABA, am I pronouncing it right? The opportunity for those individuals that have emotional distress or have had some sort of crime against them. Does that process apply to their children or just the parents?
But if you're talking about VAWA, it applies if I am married to my U.S. citizen husband and I'm a victim of domestic violence through verbal, emotional abuse. I don't need a police report. I can qualify for VAWA. Eventually, I can get a work permit, driver's license, social security number, eventually a green card. Now, also children, they might be undocumented and they're victims of their stepfather, usually, or maybe stepmother as well. And also the parent, I'm undocumented and my children are U.S. citizen and they are abusing me. And you don't need a police report for that. So it's a wonderful program to be able to do. Oh, I don't have a microphone.
Let's go one more online question, Rosa Sella.
Are people who send money back to their countries at risk?
No.
Could you share where people can report scammers and what are the best steps to take if someone encounters a scam?
Yes, definitely report any scammers to the Attorney General. So depending if, state of Illinois, you can go to the Attorney General. They have a website, you can fill out a form, and it does not affect your immigration status. A lot of these people are scared, afraid, is this gonna hurt me? Is this gonna come back to me? Our interview with Telemundo yesterday, I had to encourage my client to get an interview with Telemundo. She didn't want to. She was like, well, it's gonna affect me. It's gonna go any way against me. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, you need to do this so other people know about your story and we bring awareness. And I told her, I'll be in the background with you. It was a recording through StreamYard. I was like, I'll be in the background with you. I'll be in the room with you. But I'm like, you got this. And she did wonderful. You guys should go watch it. It's a really good video on Telemundo application. They just downloaded it yesterday at 5 o'clock.
Thank you. Mimi.
Morning. My name is Monica Staniak. I'm a street outreach program manager with Northwest Campus. I have a 1.5 question. I know you brushed off a little bit about the activation of social security numbers. So what is the next step that the client can take to find out, let's say, how are they going to find out if their social security number was deactivated when they're trying to apply for benefits? What is the next step that they can take? And the whole question is, I'm an immigrant myself. I never thought that I will be sitting down with the clients trying to make an emergency plan, trying to make some sort of plan, what if? So a question from a client from last week, having an adult child who is a citizen here, but looks mixed. And at this point, as you stated yourself, no one feels safe in here. If that adult child gets picked up by ICE, what does the family have to do to find that child, and where do they find that person?
So about the social security numbers, they could go in person into the Social Security Office administration and ask about it. And they shouldn't be afraid. They're not ICE, they're not the police, or they can just say, hey, can I find out what the status of the social security number? It was issued to me when I was here with a tourist visa 10 years ago. Because again, that's how they were given before. The other way they could find out is, yes, once they're trying to apply maybe for a loan or a bank or something, that's when they're going to find out that it's been deactivated. So that's one step they can take to be proactive if they want to find out. But honestly, if you already know you got that social security number and you have no legal status, you can be like 99.9 sure that it's going to be in that pile of being deactivated. Now, again, all the stuff that I'm telling you, it's also in litigation. So it could be that it doesn't go through, if that makes sense, because, you know, they're going to put a pause and yes or no, and they go through the appeal process, and it's still in progress. Your second question. So yes, unfortunately, they could very easily pick up U.S. citizens. And I joked with this presentation on the presentation before, and I said, if you're in a group and you're a U.S. citizen, start running. Why? That way ICE is chasing you and wasting their time when the real person can get away. Okay, but it's a good strategy. Work it. But if they were ever able to detain a U.S. citizen, it has already happened. It has already happened, unfortunately. And unfortunately, you would have to find them the same way that I mentioned, through the ICE locator. So if you Google ICE locator, you're able to enter the person's name. So you do need to know the person's full legal name. So be careful. Sometimes we may know a person as Johnny, but his name is actually Johnson, or maybe it's Jonathan or Joan. And so just know, you need to know their legal name. You also need to know their, well, in your case, it's a U.S. citizen, but people who maybe they're from Guatemala, but everyone may think they're from Mexico, you need to know where they're from. So you need to know, so this is why keeping a copy of the birth certificate in this piece of, in the folder that I was telling you to prepare in advance, it's attorneys, that makes it super easy. I know your legal status, I know where you're from, and your full legal name. In the U.S. citizen, you're gonna have to find them through agent locator, ICE locator, just like a normal person. And honestly, those people, they're gonna be getting a huge lawsuit because they just arrested and totally destroyed that person's, you know, their legal rights by detaining a U.S. citizen. And that's precisely the thing that I'm warning you guys right now, how they were able to pick up that group of people saying, well, you look like gangbangers, boom, I'm gonna throw you, no due process. And in between, one of them could have been a U.S. citizen for all we know. And so these are things that, you know, this is why we have to protect our Constitution. We have to protect other people's rights, because at first they're gonna start coming for you, and you're like, oh, I'm okay. But eventually it's gonna come, you know, you're gonna be the one that's gonna be involved, and it's not gonna be as fun.
Hi there. Thank you so much for all this helpful information. I had a couple of questions about the U visa. So in your opinion, with applications still pending from 2017, how worthwhile is it to apply? Did you say if they get the bona fide predetermination, then they're safe from deportation? And then can you also talk about, if they do get the U visa, the process for the green card?
Okay, I love U visas. I'm also known as the U visa lawyer and also la abogada de la visa U. So you touch a point that I love to talk about. So basically a U visa, I'm gonna give you like a really quick summary. A U visa, I did my very first U visa in 2008. That's when they first came out. Nobody knew about them. So there was not a long period of time for wait. So you have to be a victim of a crime. You have to cooperate with the authorities. There are only 27 crimes. So just a kick, a smack, you pull my hair, it's not gonna work. Only sexual abuse, kidnapping, extortion, blackmail, sexual abuse, domestic violence, peonage, and military servitude. There are only certain felonious assault with the gun, you know, certain crimes that qualify. My very first U visa, she was 16 years old. She worked at TCF. Someone came in with a gun, put it to her head. She had to open a safe. She cooperated with the FBI. She cooperated with the police. She was 16 years old. We were able to do a family package. We were able to get a U visa for her mom and dad and her young brother, who was like 18 back in the day. Back then, it took us 8 months for us to get the U visa approved. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. You have the U visa for 3 years, then you can apply for a green card. So her process, in and out, right? That was 2008. Now you submit the U visa. It is gonna take, they're currently working in cases from February 2017, and there are only 10,000 U visa cases per year. Immigration opens their windows every October, 10,000 U visas, but people are applying so much about it. People know about it, which is great. People are applying, people know about it, people understand the process more. They will apply between 8 to 10 to 12,000 U visas in a month to 2-3 months. So can you imagine if in October they gave us 10,000 and they're working in February, the date is gonna move maybe like March, April, and then we have to wait a whole year. And then it's gonna move like May and June, and then wait, I mean, so this is why it is such a huge delay. So people are like, hey, I'm a victim of domestic violence. I just put my husband in jail. I can't wait 10, 12, 18 years to get my U visa, because you don't get a work permit for a U visa. You don't get a work permit right away until you're approved. So I can't wait as a mom, four children I have to feed, 10 years, 12 years. So in June of 2021, they changed the law and they added a bona fide determination. So this bona fide determination, they're gonna give you a pre-approval, and basically they're gonna look at your package just briefly and say, okay, looks like you have the basic stuff, it does qualify. We're gonna give you deferred action. Deferred action means protection from deportation at this point when you get the bona fide. So remember, 3 years after you submit it, people still complain. They're like, that's a very long time. I'm like, yes, I know, but do you wanna wait 12, 15 years? Be glad we're here. And then you get a work permit, driver license, social security number, protection from deportation. But this is the one that I was mentioning that changed it, where if I have a final order of protection, this deferred action doesn't protect me. So all it means is if I have an encounter with immigration, with an ICE agent, I can't be like, oh, I have deferred action. They're gonna be like, I don't care. We're still gonna process you. But if I have deferred action and I don't have a final order of deportation, and the ICE agent says, let me see your paperwork, and be like, I have deferred action, and they have to leave me alone because they can't detain me. They can't put me in immigration proceedings. And then that person has to wait many, many years until they get to that. Right now they're working on February 2017 until their date. But it's all over the place and it's a mess. I have had cases now approved super fast. So don't quote me. I mean, I just told you I tell people the process, but let me tell you what happened in my office. This happened in March. One of my clients, he was a victim of assault with a gun in 1995. So U visa doesn't matter how old the crime is, which I also love. You just have to have a police report. In 1995, he was a victim. He hired us in 2024, and in a year, he got his work permit. So, but that's not the norm. So would I encourage you to apply, even though there's such a huge delay? Absolutely. Why? Because this is just like things just happen. They're just kind of like all over the place. And so yes, that guy, he got it in a year. I was really surprised. So yes, continue to apply.
Attorney Rocio Becerril, we appreciate you being here. We've got 2 questions in the queue. We've got one here and one online. We're at the end of time. May we send these to you for a response, or would you like to try to squeeze them in here?
I can squeeze them in here quickly.
Okay, there you go. I had a client that came in and he was renewing his residency. And when he got his, I think it had been a little bit before he had gotten I think it was in October. He just came into the office probably like about a week ago, last week. And he also got a form for the G2058, the one that she was talking about.
G28.
But he had submitted it himself. So should he fill it out?
No.
And but they haven't sent him his residency, like the renewal for his residency.
No, an individual doesn't submit a G28. He probably did it because he saw a sample of another one and tried to be smart and do it himself and save money. But I always tell people, you end up wasting so much more when you try to save money, and time is our worst enemy, because I don't know if he did it correctly. He should have gotten a receipt already by now. He should see an attorney just to see what his options are.
We have one more online.
Have you come across any veterans that are being deported in our area that have a DD-214?
No. I haven't.
We've reached, one more. Reverend Miguel.
I know this is a question. Reverend Miguel from San Marcos Episcopal Church in Glen Ellen. I know that I haven't mentioned about if you recommend to register as a no-document with the government is requested right now. What are you talking about that? Is recommend and not to do that?
So what I tell my clients is, if you register, they're gonna deport you. If you don't register, they're gonna deport you. So I just leave this for my clients to make a decision. As an attorney, I can't tell you to break the law, So it is the law to register, but my answer is you register, they're gonna deport you. You don't register, they're gonna deport you. So then each individual can make their own decision.
Thank you very much. And what a wonderful, wide-ranging education you provided us and distinct responsiveness to the questions in the room. We so appreciate your work with us. We got to find a way to keep your knowledge channeling through here on a regular basis. So we so appreciate this.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 15-minute break now, and we'll come back at 10:30. So that's actually a 13-minute break. 11:30, thank you. We'll come back at 11:30 for a stellar panel
Of course.
that have been recruited to address the needs that we've heard from you are the most important in your communities. So you're going to hear about school responsiveness. You're going to hear about mental health. You're going to hear more about deportation defense and organizing our communities to be protective of our neighbors. As we go through this second round, we're going to invite each one of the panelists to come to a podium and speak from a mic here that will project in this room as well as in the Zoom meeting. We'll be listening to 5 minutes from each panelist. When we get through the 6 presentations, we'll do a question and answer just as we did with Rocio. We'll have questions being taken in via the chat, and we'll have 2 folks in the room here with microphones, but we'll have the question and answer applying to all of the panelists. You may pick out the one that you most wish to address your question. And I wanted to share a note about language access in this meeting. This meeting has a simultaneous interpretation happening, Spanish and English, and that's set up through a Zoom room, but it's also streaming into this room. We have folks here who are using earbuds to listen to that interpretation. So for our panelists and for our questioners, we ask you to be aware that there is a simultaneous interpretation happening and to be deliberative in your speaking and try to not speak too quickly. Allow the interpreter time to keep up with you in your presentation. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce Xochitl Esparza from the Illinois Coalition on Immigrant and Refugee Reform. Welcome, Xochitl.
Thank you so much, David. And good morning, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Xochitl Esparza. I oversee our family support network hotline that we created here at ICER. And I'll be talking to more detail what are our call options and language access that we have for callers that are seeking services and help. And before I begin, I want to introduce more in detail what does ICER exactly do. We are a membership-based organization that serves immigrant and refugee communities across the entire state of Illinois. And in partnership with our member organizations, we offer public benefit assistance, offering interpretation and translation in different dialect and native languages, understanding that our immigrant and welcoming arrivals come from different countries around the world. And we want to make sure that access is not an issue for these folks and recently arrived families. We also offer citizenship workshops, English classes, as well as scholarships for folks that are looking to renew their work permit if they're DACA recipients or for families and individuals looking to apply to become a citizen. And lastly, we are an advocacy-based organization. Illinois does have really strong legislation that protects our immigrant and refugee communities here, and the work is still not done. There's more that we can continue to pass and more funding and programs that we can create. And it helps with community members and advocates like yourself here today that support us and join us in our calls to Springfield to pass more pro-immigration protection laws. But today I'm here to talk about our Family Support Network hotline and specifically the history behind it. So in 2011, we found the need to create the centralized hotline known as the Family Support Network hotline because we found the need of families needing more support in getting defense against deportation cases, as well as many undocumented individuals and immigrant families that needed help accessing healthcare, accessing public benefits, looking for English classes or work development resources as well. And that's why in 2011, we created the Family Support Network Hotline. And it's important to note that this hotline was managed by volunteers since February 2025. Most recently in March, we did finally receive the funding to hire live operators, which has extended our services to offer more immediate calls, and folks can dial directly and will be connected to a live operator. But thanks to the work of many students and advocates that wanted to volunteer, we were able to expand our hotline and respond to the calls needed to connect individuals and families to these resources. We've also expanded language access as well as now offering the hotline in Polish, Arabic, Korean, and Mandarin as well. And these are some of the call options folks can call and select when they're dialing in. The first being to report Trust Act violations. So as stated, police officers and law enforcement here in the state of Illinois cannot work or assist with immigration enforcement. And ICER does closely monitor this. We do count on the community support, especially for our service providers that are here today. If a client does reveal or there's a suspicion that the Trust Act was violated, we do ask that you connect them to our hotline that I do have listed up here at 855-435-7693. I also have Know Your Rights cards that contain these numbers at my table where you can obtain some yourselves as well. But it's important to refer folks for any suspicions of Trust Act violations. We do monitor these cases. We want to make sure law enforcement is in compliance and is following the Trust Act. The second is our biggest component is to report any ICE activity in the community or for families that are facing deportation or know a loved one that's facing deportation. Folks can call and dial option 2 to be connected with a live operator. We are working with organized communities against deportation that are offering this assistance as well. And the following is immigration legal referrals. We do offer immigration legal referrals to our nonprofit legal agencies. DACA for folks, again, I mentioned earlier, we offer scholarships every year for folks that are looking to renew their DACA. Healthcare resources for individuals that need assistance in finding healthcare, counseling, any mental health services, as well as public benefits assistance. And folks can also dial for any workplace rights violations or complaints. And this is the schematic of what the hotline looks like behind the scenes. As I mentioned, we do work with 4 different organizations that offer our language access, Arab American Family Services. We do refer folks that do select that they need Arabic interpretation, and the Arab American Family Services will take on the hotline as well as the Chinese Coalition for Better Communities are offering calls for individuals that need assistance in speaking Mandarin. But if folks were to continue in English and Spanish options, they'll be connected with our live operators, and these are the options that they can select if they need public benefits assistance, legal referrals. Again, as I mentioned, ICE sightings and deportations. We are working in collaboration with organized communities against deportation that is offering that deportations offense, which is critical at this time. So we do encourage folks, to please share our number, especially for any allies or community members that want to know how they can help. We do encourage, feel free to call our hotline if you suspect any ICE activity in your community, near your work area, near your schools. You can report this call to our hotline. It is confidential, and we will alert our rapid response team so that they can go out into the community to assess the situation, but most importantly, connect that affected family and individual with legal resources if there was an arrest or detainment need. But that was a very brief overview about our FSN hotline, but thank you all.
Thank you very much, Soshi. And I want to invite Nancy Garcia up from Southwest Suburban Immigrant Project.
So mic is definitely working. Hi, everyone. Okay. Yep. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. My name, again, thank you, Xochitl, for sharing the crucial information about the Family Support Network. Again, my name is Nancy Garcia. I'm the Director of Civic Engagement with Southwest Suburban Immigrant Project. Our office is located in Bolingbrook, and we serve Will and DuPage counties. Southwest Suburban Immigrant Project is a community-based organization that focuses on dismantling, advancing justice, building power, nurturing belonging, and for all immigrants in Chicago's Southwest suburbs. As a directly impacted organization, we also focus on making sure that we're including the different opinions of our base that is also directly impacted to make sure that as an organization, we're taking all of that into account and we're staying informed collectively. Again, SSIP is a proud member of ICER, and we have collaborated in the past with the Family Support Network in order to make sure that we're staying up to date, educated, and sharing key resources with many of you in this space. Okay. One thing that I do want to acknowledge is that at this time, there's a lot of fears in our community, our immigrant community, and it is important that we name them, okay? So we have 3 different things that we're going to be mentioning today: separation and detention, end of access to healthcare, and unsafe schools, okay? Again, the families that we work with are facing a lot of fear because of all the uncertainty and the chaos that is happening at this time. Prior to the start of this new administration, the threat of mass deportations was something that was mentioned time and time again. And it's something that since the inauguration, we have seen multiple attempts at keeping people, at causing chaos, causing people to be really afraid, and also immigration conducting arrests and also militarizing and scaring our neighbors. And that's something that is not okay. At the state level, we're looking at the access to healthcare. At the state level, we see programs that are under threat, like the Health Benefit for Immigrant Adults, also known as HBIA. This program is a program that provides a lot of our community members that otherwise might not have been able to apply for health insurance, much needed access to life-saving procedures, different treatment, preventative care that might not otherwise have been a possibility. Now that we're facing threats to HBIA, we are looking at community members losing much needed resources and the access to healthcare. For unsafe schools, we have seen that at the federal level, there's multiple threats to overturn different policies that have been implemented at the federal level, including one of the Supreme Court cases from 1982 that focuses on providing access to all the students regardless of immigration status. At the state level, there's a real opportunity for us to make sure that we keep working together to prevent something like that from happening at the state level, to continue to provide access to our students to go to school regardless of their immigration status. As a community, we are not powerless, even though that's something that might be mentioned or might make us feel a particular way. A lot of us in this room have worked for many years to build an infrastructure to protect each other by connecting people to crucial resources. And again, we do have an opportunity to collectively work together. This is one of the poems that we have seen many times. Have you all seen this before? Okay. So it has different groups that were identified at different points in time and how they were targeted. At this point, we can go ahead and look at different groups and replace it with a new group that we are currently encountering at this moment, and this poem would still make sense, okay? Right now, this current administration is targeting a lot of the community members, low-income immigrant community members, English language learners, everyone is a target currently, okay? Over the last 15 years, our organization has collectively worked to make sure that we're developing programs, including our rapid response team, in order to continue to work with you all, to continue to learn about best practices, respond in case of emergency using our rapid response teams, and be able to connect people to much needed resources in a moment of panic or crisis. I invite us to reflect on this moment and take additional steps to protect each other. Despite all the fear and challenges that we currently face at SSIP, we're committed to continue to collaborate with each and every one of you all. We understand that in order to keep our families safe, we need to be able to organize, collaborate, and be able to take action. It is crucial that we take actions today, and you will hear from my colleagues during the closing remarks about our work to continue to collaborate, strengthen partnerships, and focus on pushing additional legislation to keep our families safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, and I welcome now Jose Luis Pepe Gutierrez, and we'll get him mic'd up.
So, good morning. How's everybody? Okay, well, my name is Jose Luis Gutierrez. I'm the director of Casa Michoacán DuPage. And Casa Michoacán is a membership organization. But I'm going to explain a little bit of what we're doing right in this time in West Chicago and in DuPage County. But first of all, I want to thank Dave for putting this together. Look around. I mean, this is the power that we have in the community to change things, to resist. So I want to thank you. And I want to mention something that, give him a round of applause, please. Thank you. Dave and all your team, you are doing a pretty good job. I was watching the video this morning, and Delia Ramirez said two things. We need to find new ways to do things through education, better communication, but through collaboration. And I see many of you that we collaborate together already. So that means that we are doing the right thing. And I know some of you for a long time ago, many years ago, let's say Reverend Miguel Briones, he has been in the community for a long time. But now we got new people that's coming to contribute and keep the fight for immigrant rights. Well, going back to Casa Michoacán, we're a binational organization. In the beginning, we were like a Federación de Clubes Michoacanos, that means a hometown association for people that are from the state of Michoacán. Michoacanos, we are the largest Mexican community in the United States. Almost 5 million Michoacanos live in the United States. So, in the area, you ask, hey, how many Michoacanos in the room? For say, hey, yeah, okay. Okay, good. So that's why we decide to put the name Casas Michoacán, or cultural centers, or Illinois welcoming centers called Casas Michoacán. We have one in Carbondale, Southern Illinois. We got another one in Elgin. We got West Chicago office and Pilsen office. So one of the ideas of creating Casas Michoacán was to have like immigrant integration centers. That's why thank you for inviting us to this forum, Immigrant Integration Forum in DuPage County. So that makes a lot of sense for us to be here because we want to learn more. How can we do things better? And to be honest, one of the things that we do is we have all these committees. Of course, we have all the programs that we do through ISEP, Illinois Coalition for Refugee and Immigrant Rights. And like you see, it was very formative, all the things that were explained about all the programs. But, sorry, want to change? How can I change?
Will the
It's not
clicker
working.
advance it?
I think it's not moving. Well, one of the things that the way we do things in Casa Michoacán is we have all these different committees. We have the indigenous committees, the women's committee, and one of the things I want to share with you, I mean, with the women's committee per se, we think we were very enthusiastic to create like a reading club, having more conference about health issues, but they were interested only in having Zumba. So we decided to have the Zumba classes, and then we can have the other things, so find a way. So in the Indigenous Committee, we're now celebrating the New Year's, the Purepecha New Year's, and we're gonna have on August 9, celebrating the Day of the Indigenous Communities in West Chicago. So, in this one, I mean, Casa Michoacán, I mean, the way we see things is Casa Michoacán es la casa de todos. Mi casa es tu casa. And I'm gonna end saying this in Spanish. Para nosotros es muy difícil que todo mundo estemos de acuerdo en lo que vamos a hacer. Pero lo que sí tenemos que hacer es trabajar en lo que sí estamos de acuerdo. En un momento en que el gobierno federal no nos ve como algo positivo. Y es así como tenemos que trabajar todos juntos. Y cuando digo todos, incluyendo las comunidades LGTBIQ+, transgender, todos. And I'm going to summarize. For those of you that don't speak the language, what I'm saying is we need to learn how to work together in the things that we agree. The other things, maybe we can put in the parking lot and wait for that. But in this time, it's an urgency. We need to learn to work together in a better ways. And like Delia Ramirez said in the video, to create new ways to work together so we can be more effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose Luis. And now I want to invite Diana Juarez, coming from Skokie School District 68.
I'll start the 5 minutes, yeah.
As we make the switch, I just want to suggest, Jose Luis, that your mission statement at Casa Michoacán could fit for all of us in our communities, a home for all. Very well said.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank you so much. I am Diana Juarez, the Coordinator of Family Services and Engagement for Skokie School District 68. And I want to say that the presentation highlights what we're doing in the district because it follows our strategic plan, right? So it's really coming top down what we're doing to support the immigrants in our community. Cultural responsiveness, equity and inclusion, social emotional learning, and the whole child, and communication and engagement are strategic plan goals that I focus on. A snapshot, the village of Skokie has about 65,000 residents, 38% foreign born. So we have a pretty diverse community as it is. District 68 is one of the elementary districts within the village of Skokie. There are 5 elementaries and 1 high school district within the township that includes Skokie. So in 68, we have about 1,700 students. You can see the breakdown there. Of note, we have 67 plus languages represented in our district. So 1,700 kids, over 67 languages represented, which means we have to have a pretty robust English learner, multilingual learner department. That is our goal there, to make sure that students feel safe and comfortable within the learning environment. About 35% of those 1,700 students are English learners. So about 600 students in our district qualify for EL services. We will see that number continue to grow. We will see that percentage continue to climb. One way we approach serving such a large community within our district is ESL specialists. So we have They were former teachers in our district who now work serving specifically newcomer students. So students who are new to the US school system in their first year in the country's school system. We do, of course, language screening and what we need to do that the state requires. But we also have these ESL specialists do a family interview. So they will sit down with the guardians, with the children, and find out what was it like, what was your journey like to get to the United States? What, if any, is the educational background of the students? Do they like soccer? Do they like baseball? Do they really like math? Was there something traumatic and maybe loud noises are a problem? Just what's going to help us as a school district really connect with these individual students and give us a way to better connect. Teachers are supported, so these ESL specialists also help support the curriculum and just different ideas and approaches that teachers, social workers can have when they're working with such a large number of new to the US school system students. We have Summer Discovery, which is our summer school program. We have a Gen Ed summer school program we call Summer Blast. Summer Discovery is a summer school program for newcomers. So again, within their first year in the US school system, we will invite them to participate in this program over the summer. Those are the goals there. If they're small classroom sizes, between 5 and 7 students, get one teacher and possibly a teacher's assistant. We do field trips to the grocery store, bowling, really trying to get them comfortable within the school building, what the school building staff, restrooms, just really kind of being more comfortable in the environment, but then also take them out and connect them with the community. My portion there comes in having like a parent component to this summer program so that the parents also get to go to a grocery store, figure out how that works, connect them with other local resources like the Skokie Public Library, which is huge and a valuable resource. I'm talking fast, 5 minutes is not a lot. And that's another approach that we take. There are, of course, EL services that go beyond what we do with the ESL specialists, and newcomers are considered newcomers for longer than 1 year. We know that the state is now saying up to 3 years new to the country, they are considered newcomers, but really kind of capturing students as they first come in, grounding them and making sure they know that they are supported and that we are paying attention. We have an ELL Parent Center, an English Language Learner Parent Center. It's housed in District 68, serving multiple public school districts in the area. This center works specifically with the adults in the household. So schools take care of the kids, and the Parent Center is where parents can go to get English classes, computer classes, citizenship classes. They can connect with other people of the same language and ethnic backgrounds, really socialize, connect with each other, and then maybe be more empowered to connect with other resources that are out there. Really important program. School districts pay to be a partner of the Parent Center. So based on their enrollment numbers, there's a contract, they give money to the Parent Center, and then all of the Parent Center's programming is available to those school districts' parent communities for free. So all of this programming is free for parents. Speed it up. So what do I do? As the coordinator of family services and engagement, I serve as the McKinney-Vento liaison. So McKinney-Vento students who come lacking fixed, adequate, and regular housing. Refugee students, asylum-seeking students, they're automatically enrolled as McKinney-Vento students. So in our district, we have seen that number quadruple in the past 3 years. There's school supply distributions. We are a well-resourced area. So the Niles Township government, there's the district, the village, and then the township. They supply us with back-to-school kits for kids. So they will get school supplies. If you qualify for free reduced lunch, that looks like something between 700 and 800 kits that I distribute over the summer to these families. We have a clothes closet, so families are able to get 4 to 5 outfits per person in the household through an organization that has clothes donated. Language interpreters, so I manage connecting families, language interpreters. There's parent-teacher conferences. There's all kinds of IEP meetings and other meetings that principals and teachers would like to have with families. Parent universities, a series of workshops that I do. I'm going to speed it up. Okay, communication, language barrier is a huge issue, not just in school districts, right? Everywhere. So these are some of the approaches that we take to handling how to better communicate with parents. And so what do you do? So we're super well resourced. I have Old Orchard Mall in my tax base. Not everybody does. So I'll leave you here with some ideas on what you can do if you are looking to take advantage of other resources that you have, whether it be community colleges, nonprofit organizations, or the human capital that you have within your communities there. Oh, that was fast. Okay. And I will just shout out lastly to LARC. So LARC, the Language Access Resource Center that comes out of this organization, we have an interpreter training program that we have run through LARC. So we have many strong bilingual community members in our district. We ask them, does anybody want to be a certified interpreter, right? You do, okay. Oh, wonderful. So then you create a cohort. So in my district, we would have a cohort of language interpreters with participants from my school district, right? The district will pay for their training. They will pay for them to go through this training. When they have to do their service hours, their practice hours, we have them do it for us for free. So we'll pay for your training. You pay us back by interpreting for us, parent-teacher conferences, curriculum night, other meetings in schools. We're tapping into the resources that we have within the community. They represent languages that we need and that we see in the community. And it's a wonderful way to take advantage of resources out there. Thank you for letting me squeeze that in.
Deanna Horns, thank you very much. Thanks so much. And I appreciate you queuing up that idea that a school district can get behind supporting the training of interpreters to better serve their families, to recruit from inside the district people who want to make a difference in the world. And we thank you for being in that cohort. And now I'm pleased to welcome to the podium Cindy Eigler, who is the Executive Director of Coalition for Immigrant Mental Health.
Hi, thank you for having me. So as mentioned, I'm with the Coalition for Immigrant Mental Health. I will not spend any time talking about it because I have 7 minutes and I want to get to, I know everyone's looking for how they can support community members, but here's just a little bit about us. Our website is on there. Check us out, get involved. I want to get to how we can support our immigrant and refugee communities, but I want to start off with some level setting about what I mean when I'm talking about trauma. So when I talk about a traumatic experience, I'm talking about an experience in which people feel or are at risk of death, harm, or loss of connection. And I say that because it's really important in this moment. You don't actually have to have an experience of being detained, but if you feel at risk, which right now, so many of our community members are at risk, that is a traumatizing experience, right? So we want to just acknowledge that. The other thing is that trauma impacts our ability to feel safe and connected, which can often send us into kind of modes of protection and survival that can last a lifetime. So we just want to acknowledge that. And trauma can be experienced individually or collectively. So right now we have whole swaths of communities that are experiencing collective trauma. And it's important to mention that because that also means how we address that trauma, how we address healing needs to be in collective spaces as well. And I think we could probably all agree that right now we are living in ongoing social conditions that are incredibly traumatic for people, right? So when we're talking about this kind of trauma or systemic trauma, there is no P in PTSD. So thinking more about immigrant and refugee communities and mental health and trauma, the thing that I most want to emphasize is how complex and compounded it is. We're not talking about just one kind of trauma. So thinking about pre-migration trauma, right? Often the experience that influences somebody's decision to leave their home country. People are experiencing that. There's the travel and transit trauma. We've all heard horror stories of people's journeys to get here. There's the post-migration trauma. How do you even get basic needs met when you don't know the language? You don't know how to use the transportation systems. You're separated from your loved ones. You don't have your traditional support networks available, right? There's a lot of trauma associated with that. And then settlement and integration trauma. Even if you've been here 20, 30, 40 years, you're away from your homeland, you're away from family often, and you're maybe still experiencing a lot of discrimination. My parents have been here for 46 years, and they still get told to go home very often, right, on a regular basis. So it's something just to consider. And so coupled with all of that, so we're talking about communities who don't have only one of these, but might have all 4. And then you add to it the uncertainty of not knowing what will happen any given day, right? And we've heard a lot about that. Plus the increased harmful rhetoric and lies and misinformation being told, that also increases a lot of trauma and distress for communities. So what can we do? I know that's what people want to hear. And so what I wanted to focus on, just to remind us that what we all need as human beings in order to have settled nervous systems, in order to be well, in order to have well-being, is safety, connection, and belonging. Those are the 3 things that we need. And we know that many immigrant and refugee communities for sure don't feel safe or connected or belonging, right? But there's things that each one of us in this room can do to help generate senses of safety, connection, and belonging in our work. And it doesn't take necessarily going to see a mental health practitioner. So what can we do? First, normalize. Any experience, any reaction that anyone is having right now is completely normal. It's a normal reaction to completely abnormal, horrific situations, right? So we want to normalize for people. The other thing is about how we can help create sanctuary spaces. So whatever work you're doing in whatever institution or organization you're with, thinking about how you can make your space safe and comfortable. That might be music, it might be seating, it might be artwork, it might be signage, right? What you can do to create senses of safety in your space will help increase people's sense of well-being. That also includes language access, right? Making sure your signs are available in other language, making sure your staffs are trained so they're able to really stand up and support people through Know Your Rights training or other trainings. Taking any opportunities we can to celebrate people's cultures, helping them connect back, showing that we value them as a whole human being and we value where they come from, and helping them have that sense of home here is another way to increase somebody's sense of well-being. Then there's one that we don't often think about. So creating opportunities for people to feel a sense of power and control. So one of the things that trauma does is take away our sense of agency. So one of the things that we can do is find any opportunity possible to help increase somebody's sense of power and agency. And that can be small, like letting somebody choose the music that's going to play at your meeting, pick the agenda, pick the food that's going to be served. Just thinking about the small opportunities you can take to give somebody a sense of control and power and actually give them that is an important way to increase somebody's sense of well-being and wellness. And lastly, contextualize. We really want to help people understand the circumstances are connected to systemic oppression that is happening right now and that has been happening for centuries, right? We want to, often when we're in a low spot, we tend to move into kind of shame, a feeling like, what did I do wrong? Something is wrong with me, I am broken. We really want to emphasize that the system is broken and completely messed up and nothing is wrong with the individual. There are a whole lot of other activities that have been well proven to help support wellness for people and well-being. I'm not going to go through them because I don't have time, but I imagine that everybody in this room has a way to integrate or is already integrating, as we heard before, some of these activities into your work. So finding ways to do these things are really important. I will end with just saying, so the coalition really operates from an understanding that mental health care is a public health issue and a human right, but is obviously riddled with a lot of inequities and limited resources. But when we're talking about mental health as a public health issue, that means we're focusing on prevention. Not everybody needs to see a mental health clinician. Not everybody wants to see a mental health clinician. And there's a lot that we can do on the front end to make sure that somebody doesn't get into a state of crisis where that's the only option available, right? So hopefully all of these activities that we mentioned, all the things I talked about are ways to increase people's sense of safety, connection, and belonging so that they're able to have well-being individually and collectively in their community. And then lastly, just to say, normalize any fear, right, or hesitancy to access services. So if you have somebody and you have services you can send them to and they don't want to, that's okay and that makes sense, right? There's a very real reason that people are afraid right now, and we want to make sure we're not challenging that, right, that we're respecting their fear. And there's a lot of stigma associated with accessing mental health care for communities, so we want to make sure that we're letting people take the lead in their own care and their own healing process. So I will close with that the coalition does have a mental health resource directory available in English and Spanish on our website. The website is here, and I think you're going to be getting the slides as well. It lists services throughout the county and throughout Illinois, available in, I think, over 22 languages I counted the other day. This does need to be, it was last updated a year ago, but it is a starting point, and we will try to do our best to keep it updated as we move on. That's it. Thank you very much.
Cindy Eigler, Coalition for Immigrant Mental Health, thank you. And that resource, I wonder, Cindy, if you could see all the cell phones coming out when you posted that resource and all the photos being taken. Well, you've heard 5 panel presentations regarding distinct concrete services to provide to your clients and your neighbors. But in addition to the need for services, we've heard from organizations enormous concerns about the future for supporting their work. And so we're very pleased today that Alice Cottingham, a nonprofit consultant, is with us to comment on this.
It's always great to be the last person on the panel to speak, right? You want me to be short and to the point, so I'm going to give you that. I'm really glad to be with you here today. I want to start by saying I was asked to provide an update on philanthropy's response to the current deluge of horrible policy out of DC. There are lots of ways you can define philanthropy. I'm going to focus on grant-making foundations, which I know best, which I think are probably the largest source of funding outside of public dollars for nonprofits, of many different kinds. First, the very bad news, and that is that philanthropy is not riding to the rescue like the cavalry. They simply do not have enough dollars to replace public dollars. That's always been the case. It probably always will be the case. There's not going to be a one-to-one swap, no matter how much organizations are hurting. It's a little too early to say what foundations overall are going to do in response to new policies. While we know that there were 175 immigration-specific executive orders out of DC in the first 100 days of this administration, there were lots of other policies in many other fields affecting lots of other populations that were also being unrolled at the same time. So funders who fund in multiple areas have multiple demands on them that have only increased since the inauguration. And partly what funders need to do is to figure out what's their strategy, given that everybody needs more money. They don't have enough money to meet all that demand. What are they going to prioritize? What I would suggest to you, as somebody who's worked with a lot of foundations over time, is that what most foundations are now going to do is look for new requests from organizations that can show that they have seriously undertaken a strategic review process at the moment that takes into account their loss of funding in whatever areas apply for that organization, and think very clearly about what their most central work is in this moment. Because there aren't going to be enough dollars for most organizations to continue to do all the things they've been doing. They're going to have to cut some things. You're going to have to cut some things. And probably some of you are already in this process. I know, for example, that refugee resettlement agencies got stop work orders immediately. And so they've been adjusting very rapidly and for the last almost 4 months now. I would urge all nonprofits to take that approach and to be prepared for needing to do that same kind of review probably once the new federal budget is released, because that's when there are going to be even more cuts, it looks like. So live in reality and think carefully about what you most need to do.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alice. Yes, please stay up. And I'd like to invite all of the panelists now to please come on up to the front. We have some elevated seating there for you. And I'm going to be inviting questions from the audience here in the room, as well as people on the chat. We'll do this just as we did in the first half this morning. We'll have folks in the room here with microphones who can take questions. And you're welcome to ask any individual or ask the group a question. You need mics. As you're thinking about it, I'd like to, Alice, respond to your note of the sober reality about the limits that grant makers have. And I, as a longtime development worker in nonprofit organizations, I want to provide a little hope that your scheme of focus on what you do, focus on the impact this is going to have on you, because within the world of individual donors, there's not a ceiling. And if we can be successful in telling the story beyond patients and beyond those who have a limited budget, we have the opportunity to refresh and build some momentum. But now here, I welcome questions. Are there questions for panelists? Julieta.
Yes, all these executive orders deemed to affect the most vulnerable of our communities, are they constitutional? And what can we do to pressure back, to push back, so that this isn't harming our communities?
Thank you. I think that's an excellent question. It's important to note that the executive orders that we're seeing, they never go unchallenged. We have organizations, judges, lawyers across the nation that are suing the Trump administration. So we are fighting back. What folks can do today as well is to get involved, join one of the member-based organizations. If you want to get involved, again, we go to Springfield every year and we need to be pressuring our legislators, our congressmen to fight for us, represent us, and also challenge these unlawful executive orders that oftentimes are going against the Constitution. But I think folks do have power, and there's power in numbers. And I invite all of you here today, please visit the tables here, folks in DuPage, we have folks in Elgin, Pilsen, all across Illinois for you to get involved as well.
Were there others on the panel who wanted to respond to that question?
I think now it's working. Yes. I think something else that I can go ahead and add, thank you, Xochitl, is at the federal level, there's a lot of things that are happening. So we definitely want to stay updated to be able to understand what is happening at the federal level, because that does impact the communities that we serve. At the same time, we can concentrate our energy at the state level, because we know that we do have champions and we do have a lot of community members that we can organize to make sure that we are pushing legislation at the state level, to make sure that Illinois continues to be a welcoming state despite all the challenges and everything that is happening at the federal level. So we can do two things at the same time, but making sure that we are aware of where we need to put a little bit more energy in order to see actual results and make sure that we keep our families safe. Thank you.
In a federal level, there is nothing we can do right now, only resist. But on the state level, we got very good allies like Senator Karina Villa, Mara Hershauer, State Rep, and Delia Ramirez, Chuy Garcia. We got some allies. But now we have you as an alderwoman in West Chicago. And I think we need to start thinking what are the things that we're going to be pushing in West Chicago. And yesterday, we had a new mayor in Aurora, a progressive perspective that he's presenting to the community. So I think we need to build all these relationships in the municipalities so we can resist better. That would be my recommendation. And now you have the opportunity to play a role, Julieta, and you are no estás sola, you're not by yourself.
We have a question coming online.
Yes. Question is for Diana. Could you provide information on whether you work with ESL programs to get interested interpreters? Could you provide information on whether you work with ESL programs to get interested interpreters?
So to be a trained language interpreter, you do need very strong English language skills and then target language skills. So there is an assessment that is done. We recruit from everyone in the community. We know that EL students don't necessarily mean their parents are ELs. And if they're not EL students, it doesn't mean their parents don't need English language learning. So we kind of pool the whole community. For me, it's important to stay within our district because we feel that when those interpreters and those parents are already connected with us, it's a little bit sort of easier. It's job training. It's connecting even stronger with the other school buildings and the junior high, maybe if they have their kids in the school. So we like to keep it pretty tight. We do go and open it up to everybody in our district community.
I wonder if another response to that question, perhaps we have some interpreter trainees here. I wonder if any of you would be willing to talk about what attracted you to step into the training. What attracted you to step into the training, the interpreter training?
Give it to Christina. She has the most experience from all three of us.
Okay. Did you just say what we had to do?
No, what attracted you to sign up?
Okay. Well, we are with the Youth Service Bureau of the Illinois Valley. So our job is essentially to interpret and translate for our clients. A lot of what we do is interpretation and site translations. We have the class with Eva and Carolyn. I mean, what helps us with this class is that now we won't just be bilingual workers or employees. We will now be certified, trained interpreters through DuPage Federation. And that's something that we're very proud of. And our job is very supportive of this program. And, you know, we're here to better ourselves and to better help support our community and the clients that we serve.
Thank you very much for taking an unexpected question and being honorary panel members. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Is there another question here?
Hi, my name is Kenya. I'm here with the Office of State Representative Maura Hirschauer. I have two questions. One for the Coalition of Immigrant Health. Do you offer any mental health support services, such as counseling and therapy, for undocumented and mixed status students, mixed status families who may not have health insurance? And is there age groups, such as just kids or teenagers or even parents that only speak Spanish or one language?
So the coalition doesn't offer any direct services, but we connect to services. So if you look at the resource directory, it connects you to a whole slew of people, places, and organizations that can provide those kind of services for undocumented kids from young age to old age. And then we also have a separate list. We've done kind of a review of, we have about 750 members on our listserv, many who are clinicians who've offered to do some pro bono or sliding scale work. And so we have that list as well. So you're always welcome to email me that information. Yeah.
Hold on. We'll get you mic. Otherwise, they won't hear it online.
Also, what we do in our program, in our job, is we help people apply for medical card and food and like SNAP benefits and TANF, things like that. So if they're undocumented and they have no social security number and they have outstanding medical bills, a lot of OSF hospitals, they're like St. Francis, several OSF hospitals, they provide charity care applications, and you do not have to have a social security number to apply for those. And we have a lot of success with our clients who are undocumented who will get approved. Like sometimes 100%, 80%, 50%, depending on your income.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I will definitely connect with both of you.
I will also, if I can jump in and say, through the school district, so students that qualify for McKinney-Vento services that are under the McKinney-Vento status, there is a program called Evergreen, which provides mental health services for McKinney-Vento students. So we know that a lot of our refugee and asylum seeking students will come in under that status. So there is a program that provides free, it's a certain number, like 6 free counseling sessions. They do work to get as many languages represented as possible, knowing that many of these families have a language other than English in their background. So there are possibilities through their school districts if we're focusing on kids.
Thank you so much. And to Diana, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this question, but are undocumented and mixed status students receiving Know Your Rights trainings or being connected to a support system where they can access reliable information about the current political climate? Or how are you ensuring these students don't feel isolated and know where they turn for help?
Excellent. Yeah, so that is a big part of my job, right? But we don't take the approach of saying, well, you're undocumented, let me make sure you have that information, right? It's about community education and putting it all out there so that if whether you need the information for yourself or your neighbor or a friend, or you just want to know, you have it. So the approach is sharing that information with everyone. We have had Know Your Rights workshops. We've worked with ICER before. It's a really tricky time, right? So we're just trying to navigate the most effective way. I, for example, would not do maybe an in-person event that says, come and learn about all the things if you're undocumented and all the resources you have. No one would show up, rightfully. The approach is to really kind of bombard the community with all the information, have a place, on your website, have folders at every school that, every family has access to, so that you're not identifying or seeking out any individuals you think might need the information, but really just making sure all of the information is available for everyone, I would say is what we do.
And briefly, I also want to add to that. So we do offer Know Your Rights presentations available for the entire state of Illinois. You can visit our website or talk to me afterwards. We offer them virtually, in person. We also tailor our presentation, especially for businesses as well. Know Your Rights and how you can protect your employers and also your clients. We do schools, nonprofits, and ICER membership organizations. We have Casa Michoacana and SSIP as well that offer Know Your Rights presentations. So we do it is really important that our community gets educated and informed as well. And we do want to make sure that valuable information does reach our community members. Our presentations do get updated due to the recent executive orders. So they are constantly getting updated based on the information we're receiving from the federal government. But I'll give it to Casa Michoacan or SSIP if you all want to add about your services.
I manage the Illinois Immigration Funder Collaborative, which makes grants to community organizations in a variety of areas. And I would just observe that it's a moment of real experimentation in how to best provide Know Your Rights information to everybody in communities who needs that information, including people who aren't immigrants who want to play a supportive role. But one of the more interesting requests we recently funded came from an organization on the north side of Chicago called Communities United, which is going to train high school students, both immigrant students or children of immigrant students, as well as Black students, on how to provide Know Your Rights information, with the explicit understanding that not only are students who appear to be immigrants at risk of being stopped and arrested and detained, but so are Black students who aren't immigrants. And I think it's a really interesting model, and I'm really glad that organizations are trying out different ways to do this work now.
I can go ahead and add a little bit to the importance of trainings and different things that can be brought back to your organizations or schools to make sure that you all are staying up to date. Again, we understand that the moment that we're in an emergency situation, so we do need to acknowledge that. And all of that requires us to explore, leverage, and build those relationships with new partners, and also strengthen those relationships with existing partners. In order for that to happen, tapping into or seeking out different resources and trainings is going to be crucial. So SSIP does offer different trainings in addition to ICER and also Casa Michoacan that we can bring to your organization to tailor that information to your staff first, and also additional community members to be able to break down really complex information in a way that makes sense, that is easy for people to understand. But again, making sure that we provide steps on how people can get involved and actions that they can take, so that way they are not feeling powerless, that they feel like they have some type of control or some type of actions that they can take in order to make any changes with it, starting at in their small community, and then bigger changes as we expand to other communities as well.
Thank you for all the questions. We're at a transition moment. We have one question in the room and two in the chat. Let's make these three the last, and then we'll move into the last part. Ava?
Thank you very much. And thank you to the panel for all the wonderful information. Cristobal Casa Page, Worker Center. This is kind of for everybody, particularly Alice Cunningham. It's really good to see you out here, Alice. Thank you for believing in us all these years. But what we're seeing here in DuPage is a real, you wouldn't know it, but DuPage County on May 1st, we led the contingent with over 700 workers from DuPage County. Day of the Immigrant in March. In West Chicago, we had over 2,000 people march through the streets. I think even David Roth, I saw you on the streets of Chicago a few months ago on Trump's election day, which was pretty cool. But anyway, the social movement is part of immigrant immigration, the immigrant integration protests, the rallies, the community defense, because what we're seeing on the streets is people are petrified, terrified, and horrified, and we're trying to bust that through solidarity, through strength, through mobilizations. And Casa DuPage has been there with working with Chicago organizations. And it's wonderful to know the resources here, but at the same time, we have the fight on the streets for immigrant dignity, immigrant justice. We have an administration that wants to institutionalize hate and weaponize violence. And with that, what we've seen in the Black Civil Rights Movement in the 60s, it's people power. What we're trying to see right now, again, that people power, getting on the streets of solidarity, direct action. We're planning an event on Trump's birthday, June 14th, and we want to go do a big celebration for him. But again, every time we do this, it breaks the fear. On Trump's inauguration day, people said, hey, you guys are protesting Casa Page, there's going to be raids, there's going to be rallies. And there weren't. We went out there, people were laughing. There was a mariachi in the street playing, women singing. But that really breaks up that fear. And Alice, I like to know what you think as far as smaller organizations in the protest movement, in the social movement that are organizing on the streets in this really difficult climate. I mean, we've never gotten state money one way or the other, but as far as funding is concerned, how we can continue to be creative and continue that fight, particularly in the burbs. There's more Latinos now in the suburbs than there are in Chicago. You often wouldn't know that, but I mean, we can go out here to West Chicago, Aurora, Elgin, where I grew up in Glendale Heights. So thank you. This is for our dear sister. And applause for the panel too. I think you guys are doing some good work out here, man.
Not sure.
Still not.
I actually can talk really loudly. So I'm not sure, Cristobal, that I understand what question you want me to respond to, but let me just say that the Illinois Immigration Funder Collaborative, or IFC, it's more briefly known, has always overweighted our funding to the suburbs. We're a statewide funder, but we know that funding resources are less available in the suburbs than in the city of Chicago. And of course, they're even less available outside the metropolitan area. And in our funding, we try to redress that to some small extent. The organizations in the suburbs are, Cristobal, as you say, mainly smaller organizations. Many are newer organizations. They're newer and smaller. They're smaller in part because there's less funding available to them, right? I do think, as David mentioned earlier, grants are an important way for organizations to raise dollars for their work, but so are contributions from individual donors. And I think that's really critical outside of the city limits. They are really, that's a population that often cares very deeply about their immigrant neighbors and will devote resources to those organizations. Thanks.
And I'll also briefly add on to that as well. So ICER does offer funding every fiscal year, and we are looking for new organizations, small organizations, organizations of all sizes, because we also understand that a lot of the resources is centralized in Chicago. We want to make sure we have agencies downstate in rural areas of Illinois and other parts and other suburbs as well. So unfortunately, grants applications did already close, but for next year, I do invite any service providers here to, if you're interested in becoming a welcoming center, to offer support for citizenship classes, English classes, or an immigrant families resource program agency to help with public benefits applications. I do invite you all to attend at least our listening session so you can learn more about what that means, what does that take. And for smaller organizations as well, you could also partner up with another existing organization that could complement and support the work that you are doing and will fund both organizations. So we do offer that funding as well. This year we got 9 new organizations, which is great, and we're continuing to expand and support the incredible work that some of our partner organizations are continuing to do.
Rosa Sella?
There's a couple of questions on here, but I don't know if we have enough time for the rest of them. But for ICER, if an individual is detained and calls the 855 number, how will they be helped?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically we do see family members, the detainee that are calling us. And when they call us, they'll be connected to a live operator from Organized Communities Against Deportation that will give them an assessment of what their rights are. But most importantly, we do offer referrals for the National Immigration Justice Center and the Resurrection Project that are the leading agencies offering deportation defense. So it's really important, and time is of the essence, that we connect them to that referral so that the attorney can get in contact with them and locate them and which detention center they're at. It's, unfortunately, under this time around, the Trump administration, they're being very aggressive in separating families and sending them thousands of miles away out of state to different detention centers. So one of the immediate things that folks would receive is support. If it's occurring during the arrest, it'll alert our rapid response team. But I'm going to pass it to Nancy to share a little bit more about that piece as well.
Thank you. Yes, so a lot of times, whenever we have a situation like that, our rapid response teams across the state get involved depending on the location. So we have, through ICER and also other community-based organizations, we have developed different rapid response teams that include directly impacted community members, community members from partner organizations, religious institutions, and also local municipalities as well. So what typically happens is those rapid response teams are activated to determine is something still happening now that we need to investigate, what additional support does the family need in addition to that legal connection or referral. So we provide additional support after with any resources that the organization might have or partner organizations in order to make sure that we are addressing different needs that family might have at that particular moment, and also supporting them along the way with that legal referral, and just that support along the way. That is a situation that is really difficult. So just being there and activating those networks, providing additional support and training to the teams as things continue to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosa Sella, did we have one more there?
Many of these policies were published in Project 2025. Many have been successfully implemented despite the pushback. Is something being or can be done to be proactive to stop the policies that are yet to come?
Yeah, I think we touched base on this already, but it's going to take organizing. We got to keep continuing to organize, to fight, and luckily we do have congressmen like Delia Ramirez that are pushing for further protection. So we do have the Trust Act in place that is the strongest protection that offers our undocumented and immigrant communities here in the state of Illinois, but we want to expand it even further. And we also want to continue to pass more protections, right? What we're seeing in the federal government with the sharing of private information, we want to make sure that that doesn't get passed or allowed here in the state of Illinois. So it is going to take continued efforts of organizing. I think Jose mentioned earlier, getting involved locally. Local elections are just as important as the presidential elections because we have the power here in the state of Illinois to get legislation. And Illinois has had so many wins. We've got it driver's license for all, one of the 19 states out of the 50 states in the United States that does allow undocumented individuals to get a driver's license. We've also gotten the Trust Act past, again, not all the states in the United States offer this protection that prevents law enforcement from cooperating with ICE agents, as well as having dedicated funding for immigration services as well. And I know we're on the fight for health benefits for immigrant adults, but even creating our own healthcare that's the first of its in this country as well for undocumented individuals is a fight, and we're going to keep fighting for more laws like that. But we're also going to keep fighting that they stay in place as well.
And I just want to add something. As members of ICER, Casa Michoacán, we really participate in New American Democracy Project. And what is that? Well, I'm going to exemplify. Julieta Alcántar. She decided she's part of our community, so we convinced her to run. But at the same time, as a 501c3, we cannot do campaign for her, right? So, but what we can do, we were knocking doors, raising borders in her district. So we were able to double the borders, and she was able to be our new alderwoman elected in Ward 1 in West Chicago. We did the same thing in Aurora. So we were very focused in some wards. So we were knocking doors, not for the candidate, register voters and convince them you gotta think who are you gonna support. We suggest that pro-immigrant candidate, and we give all the the description of the things that our agenda that we have a state agenda as ICER. So we were not telling them to vote for Chan or for other candidate, but we were telling you gotta vote for the pro-immigrant candidates, because in the federal level there is nothing you can do right now. But in this moment, what you can change is your local election, and that was a win. That was, I mean, if you check the numbers in Aurora, it was amazing to see the Latino voters, the new voters, they go out and they change the election. So I think that was a learning experience that we need to focus sometimes local, very local, in wards and in municipalities where we can change the way things have been doing, and that Latinos, immigrants, we have a voice and have our own agenda.
Cindy has the response, and Cindy, we're going to have yours be the last, and then we can move into our final presentation. But Jose Luis, that was a masterclass in what we can do locally. I appreciate that, Cindy.
Yeah. I just want to make a plug because for us, healing is really political. And so I just want to say that when we're talking about trauma and the experiences that many people are feeling right now, one of the things that it does that we don't often realize is it disconnects us from our ability to imagine another future is possible, right? And so this is just a plug to really make sure that in all your work, when we're burnt out, when our communities are not well, when we are overwhelmed, when we are filled with anxiety and dread, who does that serve, right? It does not serve us. But when our communities are well and resourced and connected, what is possible, right? And so I just want to continue to make that plug for putting priorities into well-being, wellness, connection for people.
Cindy, thank you. And also Alice and Jose Luis and Sochi and Diana and Nancy, thank you for a marvelous panel. You're welcome to return to your seats. And so as we prepare for Elizabeth Cervantes and her colleagues at the Health Academy, I thank all of you for participating today. Your knowledge, your energy, your interest is what makes this event what it is. I want to give special thanks to the Illinois Department of Human Services, which has a vision and funding to bring together this kind of event. We're highly appreciative to IDHS. When the event ends, after Elizabeth's team finishes its presentation, we would very much like to have your feedback regarding the program. On your agenda, on the final sheet, there's a QR code which we're encouraging you to follow. It will bring you into a brief feedback survey. I think it'll take you about 5 minutes to complete that after the program is over, and it's enormously helpful to us in planning future events and in understanding the breadth of reach of this event. So now I invite Elizabeth Cervantes of Southwest Suburban Immigrant Project and her colleagues to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, friends, colleagues, and partners. Thank you for making time today for some reflection, some learning, and also strengthening partnerships. My name is Elizabeth Cervantes, and I am the co-founder and director of organizing for the Southwest Suburban Immigrant Project. And despite the extraordinary trying times we are living in, I'm truly grateful to be in this space with you all. And I'm reassured by our shared commitment to defend and advocate for immigrant families. In particular, I want to take a moment to uplift the powerful work of DuPage Federation and thank their entire team, actually, for convening us and making today possible. Their partnership to us over the years has been instrumental to our work, from technical assistance and interpretation services to capacity building and more. From an organizational standpoint, we are truly fortunate to be able to count on such a crucial partner as DuPage Federation. But from a personal standpoint, as an immigrant woman and daughter myself, and as an undocumented student who fought for and became protected by DACA almost a decade ago, over a decade ago, I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a powerful community, because we are not powerless. And that is what I keep hearing today. And hopefully all of us are walking away with that today. Building community and belonging is what we do at SSIP every day, because community is greater than indifference, and it's definitely greater than fear. And you can't have integration without belonging. But oh boy, is fear multiplied these days. From what the attorney this morning, Rocio Becerril, shared with us in regard to immigration changes, to other fears, like our schools unable to protect children, to not being able to continue with life-saving treatment because your medical coverage has ended, to waking up to ICE outside your home and the possibility of being separated from your loved ones. These are all top of mind, not just for the immigrant community, but also, and my community specifically. But the reality is that we are not alone in this experience. The attacks on immigrants are also historically attacks on low-income people of all backgrounds. And it's an attempt, right, to divide us and disassociate us from one another. In addition, living under constant stress and fear has psychological, physical, and cultural consequences in individuals, like increased rates of anxiety, depression, and PTSD, health problems like hypertension and heart disease, and struggles with identity, belonging, and cultural dislocation. Dr. Chavez and Dr. Perez have studied these consequences extensively as a result of ethno-racial trauma, a specific and collective trauma due to the systemic oppression based on race or ethnicity. There's no denying that the criminalization of immigrants today is a dangerous example of the perpetuation of ethno-racial trauma. However, I have some hopeful news. Ethno-racial trauma can be healed if we intentionally tap into the psychological strengths and strategies that already exist within our community, from resilience, laughter, to esperanza, to cultural affirmation like art, traditions, and music, to advocacy and collective action. because again, we are not powerless. This afternoon, I'm joined by two incredibly brave and inspiring parents, members and community leaders at SSIP, Ana and Gabriela. In a minute, you'll hear more about what their role has been, but also what role you can play and all of us can play in advocacy and collective action. But first, we want to share one example of what collective action can look like when it is centered around the lived experience of and wisdom of directly impacted people. The Immigrant Health Academy is an initiative led by 4 community-based organizations across suburban Illinois, including SSIP. It makes space for immigrants to learn how to advocate for their own healthcare and that of their communities. Ana and Gabriela are both leaders with the Immigrant Health Academy. And together with 50 other community leaders, we have informed over 7,000 individuals on their health rights. And we also have referred 1,861, very specific, that one, people to assistance for Medicaid redetermination, free clinics, and public benefits. And here's a snippet of that impactful group of community leaders.
The leaders from the Immigrant Health Academy.
Mi nombre es Antonieta Castricón, Julia Hernández, estoy con la organización Southwest Suburban Immigrant Project, soy promotora voluntaria de Mano a Mano. Recientemente me pasó que una persona me decía, no tengo una cobertura médica, ¿dónde yo puedo conseguir para los exámenes de mis hijos que me están pidiendo en la escuela? Me interesó mucho la idea de poder ayudar a más personas que llegan con esos temores.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Ana. Estoy aquí como líder comunitario. Soy promotor de salud con SSIP. Me involucré por primera vez por la necesidad de mis hijos para aplicar para DACA. De ahí comencé a ver las necesidades en común con los demás. Como ejemplo, que personas como yo no tenemos acceso cuidado a la salud. En el 2022, gracias a la abogacía, en la unión con la comunidad, logramos expandir el seguro médico en Illinois para adultos inmigrantes. Yo, por ser una de las privilegiadas de tener seguro médico, y de allí me emocioné. Me emocioné poder llevar esta información a la comunidad y que se pudieran enrolar. A través de la Academia de Salud me entrené para ayudar, además, e informar a otros sobre recursos para sus deudas médicas y como ayuda de emergencia médica. En Medicaid, en los hospitales y en Charity. Gracias a las historias que colectamos en el 2023, presentamos una idea para proyectos de la ley para asegurar a que los hospitales asuman su responsabilidad de informar al paciente sobre sus opciones en recibir Charity Care. Y ganamos. Entró en vigor en julio del año pasado, pero ahora nos enfrentamos a la difícil realidad que terminará esta cobertura para adultos de edades de 42 a 64, solo por la simple razón de ser indocumentados. Aunque hay clínicas comunitarias, no es suficiente porque hay costos demasiados altos para medicamentos y especialistas. La solución es seguro médico para todos, sin importar nuestro estatus, porque todos somos esenciales en nuestra comunidad. Y el estar saludables no nos hace fuertes, no nos hace más fuertes. Luchemos por el seguro médico para todos. Yo, por mi parte, continuaré educando e informando a mis vecinos, a mis amigos y a mis familiares, y les pido apoyo también. Gracias.
Thank you, Ana. And I will briefly paraphrase that in English. Ana first got involved as she was seeking help for her kids to apply to DACA many years ago. She then started to see what she had in common with other people in the community and became involved with the Immigrant Health Academy. She was one of the first to receive coverage under the Health Benefits for Immigrant Adults program in 2022. And through her work and collecting stories, we were able to present a bill idea to our state legislators so that hospitals could assume the responsibility of informing and educating patients about charity care options. And that we passed it and is law now. But Anna also reminds us that we are coming up to some cuts and some potential threats, right, to health benefits for immigrant adults, and that she will continue to inform and educate her community, neighbors, family, and friends, but also asks that you all do the same. The Immigrant Health Academy is only one example of what empowering our families with information and leveraging collective wisdom can look like. Many times, the answers to questions about equity reforms and policy change exist already in our communities. That's because we know firsthand what lack of injustice feels like and what it could take to change that for everyone. Ultimately, being engaged in our liberation goes hand in hand with our healing. So, as precarious as this moment is, we want to leave you with this reminder. Advocate with us, not for us. You can do that by making space for and centering undocumented voices in your work, conversations, and decision-making tables. You can do that by plugging in to the existing leadership of undocumented communities and movements. You can do that also by promoting joy and culture amidst the fear.
Thank you, Ellie. And thank you, everybody, for both making this space possible and being here today. My name is Gabriela, and I became involved with SSIP through the Parent Mentor Program in my child's school 3 years ago now. Since then, I have become involved in the Immigration Health Academy and now also do coordinating in the Parent Mentor Program. So today, we've learned about the very real threats to our community, and you might have the following questions. Gabriela, what more can I do today? Or what can I do in the future?
The leaders from
All right, sorry about that. Here, I have 3 actions you can take today to join us in our advocacy. As we go through the next slides, feel free to take a quick snapshot of the information we are providing and share with your community and loved ones. I am one person. Together here, we are a community, and we need to grow and get maybe a little uncomfortable to face the battles we have ahead of us. Please share them with your family, friends, and your community so they can join us as well. All right, so our first action today is this one: emailing your Illinois state representatives to vote yes on Safe Schools for All. While I go into a brief summary of what Safe Schools for All is, please take the time to use this QR code on the screen. It generates a message to your representatives, letting them know that you support this legislation. Now, I think we briefly spoke on Safe Schools for All. So it's a House bill, HB 3247, that we are currently working to pass. It aims to ensure all children in Illinois have access to free public education, regardless of their parents' immigration status or their own. While the various attacks on our immigrant community and the various attacks of our immigrant community and the dismantling of our education system, we are fighting to ensure that if this protection fails federally, all of our students here in Illinois will be protected and able to go to school. This is a deeply personal action for me, as without this measure in place, I could not have been educated in this state or be standing here in front of you all. I can move on to the second action here. The second action is similar, contacting your representatives again. However, this one is asking to protect in the state the HBIA, HBIS program. which we've talked about here. It's a program that, if nothing changes, will be written out of the budget this year, something catastrophic for the 40,000 plus individuals covered at this time. That's 40,000 people here. If this program ends, it will not just affect some people's lives, it will end them. This is a service that provides life-saving health benefits to our most vulnerable populations. And we are asking you to join with not only those 40,000 people, but all of their friends and loved ones who will be affected as well. Now, federally, contact your congresspeople to ask them to reject and vote no on the budget reconciliation deal, which severely cuts Medicaid, ACA, and other key supports. This will affect everyone, but especially DACA recipients and US citizen children of immigrants. Lastly, our last action for today is our Eyes on ICE network. This is a text alert system facilitated by the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. By using this QR code, you can sign up to receive text messages with verified reports verified by an ICIRR affiliated rapid response team of local ICE activity, tips and reminders to keep yourself and your neighbors safe, ongoing updates related to know your rights information, and opportunities to organize, advocate, and take action. Now, these are just the first actions what we can do here today. To answer your second question on further action to take for your agency, business, or organization, such as organizing a Know Your Rights training or setting up your own rapid response team, please visit our SSIP table. I know we're short on time. You can also reach us at 630-296-6755 or at the above website or email address. We're also SSIP Chicago on all socials. So make sure you follow us for any upcoming actions. Aside from what we have done here today, this is an ongoing battle for our community. This is a battle that affects everyone, and if we are not all safe, none of us are. Thank you for joining your voices with ours so we can make sure that we are all heard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, Anna, and Gabriella. We look forward to advocating with you, and we look forward to following the lead that Anna and Gabriella are bringing us towards safe schools, healthcare, and organizing communities to defend our neighbors. Thank all of you for coming out here today. This has been a wonderful opportunity to learn and share, and we look forward to the work together in the future. And we are adjourned. Pardon? And please remember the QR code for the survey. Thank you. Thanks. Minor. Getting them to look at their agendas. You know what? What's going on? They manage.
Yeah, go to 1 second and then
like something's going on.
but
overall. Okay.